Today, Homeworthy takes you inside 3 Ralph Lauren-inspired homes shaped by elegance and warmth. First in Dallas, Texas, content creator Amy Havens welcomes us into Arbble Manor, her timeless, almost hotel-like home, layered with plaids, leather, antiques, and elegant details following an extensive renovation inspired by Ralph Lauren's classic aesthetic.
One funny thing that my husband has done throughout this home is he has cigar boxes everywhere. They're little humidors. And so when people come over, he always offers them a cigar.
In Nashville, Tennessee, interior designer Eric Ross and his wife Ruth Ann Ross open the doors to Boxwood Hill, their inviting antique-filled home designed for gathering and classic Southern living.
Because I'm a proud mother, I have to share, we had this portrait done when she was 3 years old, and then a couple years ago when she graduated from high school, we had her senior portrait done by the same artist. And I think it turned out lovely and is something that we will always cherish.
And finally, in Atlanta, Georgia, Laura and Todd Allen McDonald share their romantic, travel-inspired home filled with heirloom pieces, timeless wallpaper, and layered charm.
Also have this flag collection, and so any time that I would go into a new golf course, I'd pick up one of the flags. And so these are a couple of my favorites. Obviously, if you are in Georgia, you've got to have your Masters flag. This was from the first time we went to the Masters.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. For the past 6 years, Homeworthy has taken you inside some of the most extraordinary homes around the world. And today I'm thrilled to share that we're partnering with KBIS to be their official media partner for KBIS 2026. The largest North American trade show for the kitchen and bath industry, KBIS is where innovation launches, ideas take shape, and where the future of how we live at home is defined. And for the first time ever, we're launching the Homeworthy and KBIS Live Studio. It's a broadcast quality media hub right in the center of the show. At KBIS 2026, Homeworthy isn't just covering the show. We're opening the doors and bringing you inside to experience the ideas and technologies shaping the future of our homes.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Amy. Welcome to Arbble Manor.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi you guys, I'm Amy Havens. I'm a content creator and you're at my house in Dallas, Texas. After an extremely long 18-month renovation, we are now finally in our house and we have been here for 8 months. In the summer of 2020, my husband and I drove by this home and we just felt like we needed to live here. We'd never walked through it. There were no photos of it online. There was just something about this house that we were just drawn to. So in the fall of 2020, I actually hand wrote a note to this lady who lived here, and I put our family photo in it, and I said, there's something about your home, we love it. If you ever want to sell it, we would be interested in looking at it and buying it. Always include a family photo. Whenever we first walked through the house, it was a little scary, but I knew the bones were so good. I walked in the home and I saw the dental molding and I was like, this is it. You had me at the dental molding. That's a real story, because I thought it was so charming and pretty, and it felt like an old English manor, and I just had to get my hands on it and start this project. Welcome to the foyer. This, as I've mentioned, this has been a full-scale project. And the one thing I've been adamant about the entire time is the floors. I have always wanted a black and white marble checkered floor. The Ralph Lauren store in Highland Park Village, they used to have a black and white checkered floor. And I was like, there's going to be a house one day where I can do this on my own. So I did it. And this is our foyer. And I love this foyer so much because it is such like very casual, but also like feels very grand at the same time. If you notice, or you will notice throughout the house, all the hallway sconces are the same, which I think is like something that makes the house like very cohesive. Also on a large scale project, it makes it very simple because you have one, we call these the house sconce. And so we have one sconce style that is throughout the home. Even the runner that's going up the main staircase, we call this the house sisal. So all the rugs are the same in common areas, which again, on any size scale project, it makes it like very uncomplicated when you need, you know, 7 of the same runners. It just makes it easy, which we like things that are easy and not complicated. My favorite thing from the foyer is this portrait. We call him Uncle George. This man, we have no idea who he is, but it was in my grandmother's home since my mom was a little girl. And my grandmother moved into an apartment like a year ago, and she asked everyone in the family, like, who wants Uncle George? And I was like, I will not waste a phone a friend except for this. And this is like the one thing that I like grabbed from her like forever home that I thought like, I was like, I know the perfect place for him. So he's just like our guy. He's kind of creepy, but I kind of like it. He's like the house like watch. We do have florals regularly. Sometimes they look a little hodgepodge because I do them myself. I did not do this myself, which is why it looks beautiful. When deciding what we wanted in this space in the foyer, I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's like a bit rounded. It gets wider right here. I feel like the natural thing to do with your foyer is put a bench. You're like, oh, I need a built-in bench, like a mudroom kind of thing. And I'm like, well, my kids can learn to like put their things up when we come in the door. So I found this at our designer's store down the street, Process Home. I just thought like a marble pedestal felt like grand, but you can also do so much with it because, I don't know, we could eventually maybe get like a pretty sculpture, or we can stack books, or we can do florals. Like there's so much you can do with a pedestal, which low key, I guess I'm a pedestal person now. I had no idea that they were such a thing. This chair, I actually have 6 of them. So I've got one here, we've got one in the office, and we've got 4 in another room that you'll see eventually. You guys, Etsy is amazing. You can find the most beautiful treasures on Etsy. I had no idea until we started this house project, but I'm searching like vintage or antique King Louis French chairs. Sure enough, there's a dealer on Etsy straight from France that has the perfect chair. Shipping did take a bit of a minute, but I mean, whatever. It's worth it. Look at this beautiful antique. I'm an antiquer now. I think the house made me an antiquer. So when you first come in the house, this is the first thing that you actually see, which it's very simple. It's actually a place where my husband and I put our car keys because it's easy to like grab the keys and run out the door. Also, this is like my favorite thing. We have this little, like, again, Etsy antique bucket, and we put house slippers in it. So, you know, there's a lot of people in and out of the house, and if someone wants to like feel like more casual, they can grab a pair of house slippers and just feel comfortable in our house, which is always the goal. We want everyone to feel comfortable. Okay, you probably heard me mention Arbble Manor, which is the name of our house. My husband and I love to name and brand all of our houses. So you'll see in a little bit the backyard, but it's beautiful. And there are so many trees, arbles. So our favorite restaurant in Cabo is at Las Ventanas, and it's called Arbble. And we love to like make a play on words with a favorite place that my husband and I enjoy, and then something that makes sense in Dallas. So we also have these little, which will make sense, this little umbrella holder. I'll show you the Arbble branding. So we've got the little Arbble logo that our graphic designer made for us. Kind of like little like spots throughout the house. We've got them on matchbooks, we put them on robes, we put them on guest towels, we put them on styrofoam roadie cups, we put them on linens, literally everything. It's silly, but it's kind of fun to do because it's another way my husband and I get to be creative together. I would say the short version of my career path was in 2011, I started a wardrobe consulting company, and I would go into people's homes and I would clean out their closets and I would organize things for them. I would go shopping, and the guys who built my original website, they suggested that I add a tab to my website called a blog. And this was when blogging was kind of new and not my vibe at all. I actually laughed at them and I was like, oh yeah, right. Like, I'm gonna post photos of myself on the internet. Like, how embarrassing. One day I'm gonna be driving through the carpool line and, you know, be mortified that there's all these photos out there. Well, fast forward to 2024, and the joke's on me because there are a lot of photos of me that are silly and hopefully inspiring, but on the internet. And so the wardrobe consulting business turned into a full-time blog. And that's what I do now. I create content and I share bits and pieces of my life along the way. I share my family, my home, occasionally like what's for dinner, if I cook, which is rare, and just all different aspects of my life. Oh, and I actually do share clothing. That's like the main thing, but somehow everyone else along the way has been showcased as well. This is our formal living room. My husband and I use this room actually quite a bit. Whenever guests first arrive, we normally just kind of like hang out in here. It's just another place to like have great conversation. I love this room because this was the first room that I fell in love with in the house, because you can see the dental molding, which is original to the home, and also this fireplace. So the home was originally built in 2004, but they kept the fireplace from the house that was previously here. And so I kept it as it came. It's just has a sealant on it. It's the natural wood that was already here, and I just felt like it like starts, it's like the first thing you see in the house, and I feel like it's how the house started, so I wanted to keep it here. One really cool thing that my husband and I did with this house is we added trim throughout. So yes, the dental molding was here, but the trim that is on the ceiling and like on all the walls, we added. We felt like it added like another layer, which I think is like what makes this house so special. Another like really fun thing that I think people are not sure about or they don't really know how to do is create like a mirror. So mirrors are a dime a dozen online. You can find them anywhere, but also they're so hard to find, like if you need that perfect mirror. So we worked with a glass company and we actually got to draw out this mirror, and it's now the first thing you see above the fireplace when you walk in the house. I even ordered these little, again, Etsy, these little medallion pieces just to add like a little extra detail, which I think makes it like kind of special. It's like art projects, but as an adult. So it's really fun. As I've mentioned probably 100 times so far, is we love to keep a home cohesive. I feel like it just brings everything together and it makes the home make sense. Kind of like when you're in a hotel, like you don't know why it feels so good, but then you realize if you really think about it, everything goes together and flows. So when picking these sconces for the formal living room, we wanted like a little bit of sparkle because this room overlooks or talks to the dining room, and the dining room, I actually picked these sconces before I found the dining room light fixture, but in my head, I knew that I wanted like a big crystal-y, like sparkly dining room fixture. The house called for it. Okay, one of my favorite things in this room is this book. This book was a gift from my grandmother for Christmas, maybe like 4 years ago. It's Annie Leibowitz's Taschen book. And what's so cool about it is it truly is a piece of art. And so it's so special, they recommend that you wear gloves to turn the pages so you don't get the oils of your hands on the pages. But we love this book so much because, like I said, it is art. There's a lot of naked people in this one. Oh, I love this one. Perfect. This is a good one. No, this is very clean. So yeah, you can change the pages or flip the pages to kind of change the way the space feels. We often keep it on the Ralph Lauren page because he's a vibe. Again, as I said, the house is called Arbble Manor after like our favorite restaurant at Las Ventanas. You guys, we got this piece from Las Ventanas. It's from a Mexican artisan, and we thought it was really cool. So we've always kind of liked to collect like pieces from places that my husband and I like because, again, it kind of makes the house feel like us. It's quirky, but it also just works. I think that that's like a fun thing with your home in general is when decorating your home, like it doesn't matter. Like if you like it, put it in your house. In terms of decorating the house, that was actually such an afterthought. It was first off, how are we going to renovate this house? We touched every single surface in the home. New windows, new doors, new floors, new walls, new sheetrock, new molding, new trim, every single thing, new lighting. We even built a structure in the front with a garage and an apartment above it. It was a very large project, and I think looking back on it, had I known what a large scale this would be, I would not have done it. But I have no regrets, and I'm so happy that we're finally in the home. Now I'm gonna take you guys into the office. The wood in this space is all original. It's actually the only thing we did not touch in this house. It just felt like so warm and cozy, and I knew that we could fill it with so many fun treasures from places and things that we like. Also, we filled it with a lot of treasures from half-price books because who has this many books just like lying around? So everything is intentional, but it's become somewhat of a collected space. One thing that I do want to point out is the photographs behind me. What's so cool about these is my husband and I made them. When our little boy was about to be born, we really wanted some car art for his room. I feel like they're a dime a dozen online and they don't feel very personable. So we hired a photographer to take photos of one of the Porsches that we have. And so I don't know if my husband's he's not in these, but there's some that like you can see his arm or you can see a watch. And then we just had them matted and framed, and now it's art in our house, and it's very us, and we love that. Whenever I moved into this house, I went on like a very big Etsy kick. And so this was more Etsy stuff. I was like, I need an old phone. My kids picked this up and they're like, what is this? So we're also educating at our house. My husband uses this space the most. I occasionally come in here and I'll like take a phone call. If one of our kids is in trouble, one of us will sit at the desk and they get to sit here and we have a chat. It's just a very good meeting place. And I love how you can see the front, and then when you are sitting at the desk, you just have like a very lovely view. We always love to keep fresh orchids. Yes, these are real. She's a planter. So we try to keep these alive, which is always kind of a struggle, but they look really good today. So I'm happy about that. This is a library table, and the lady who lived here before us, we actually bought it from her. She was an antique collector, hence why the house had like the best bones. So before we closed on the house, we got to walk through the home and put little tabs on if she would let us buy some things from her. So there's like still a little bit of her in the house, which is cool because she started all of this and she had the original vision. And I feel like I just like got to come in and like finish it for her. So we're in Texas, and so we love Texas artists. This piece is by John Fleming. It's one of my favorites. We have a lot of his pieces throughout the home, which he's a friend, and so it also is like fun to have your friend's work hanging in your home. One funny thing that my husband has done throughout this home is he has cigar boxes everywhere. They're little humidors. And so when people come over, he always offers them a cigar. I am such a fan of websites like Cherish or First Dibs. So I actually found this chair on Cherish, and it was the same colorway, but the cushion was not my style. So we picked out this fabric and had the chair recovered, and now it looks very much like a chair that belongs in this house, and it feels like us. Another thing that I did was do the little matchback pillows to tie the office chair and the office seating chairs together. Now I'm going to take you guys to the dining room. Welcome to our dining room. We actually use this space all the time. One of my biggest things with a dining room, if you're not using the spaces in your home, then either change the space or change what the room is supposed to be used for to accommodate your lifestyle and your family. I know I'm probably going to say this about every room in our house, but this is actually one of my favorite spaces because of the chandelier, which this chandelier, I call it my best treasure hunt find ever. I was out of town and aimlessly scrolling through Instagram, and I saw this chandelier in the back of a photo from a local consignment store. So I immediately zoomed in, I called the store, and I'm like, hi, what is that like dingy light fixture in the back? And they're like, oh, no one wants it. Here's the price. And I bargained with them. This is the best steal of my entire life. I had it redone, rewired, polished, shined up, and now it just sits in our house, and it's one of the first things you see when you walk in the home, and I am obsessed with it. One thing I love about this dining room are the built-in cabinets. These are original. We just had to have the new door fronts and new hardware and new glass, but the actual cabinet did exist. We added the mirror in the back to reflect light and make it feel like a little bit more moody and dressy. So we like to put all of our like glassware and just different little things that we've gotten along the way. This is actually my favorite side. So this is where I keep like a lot of my china. These little teacups are all from my grandmother. Again, when she moved like a year and a half ago, she had all of these little teacups, and so I thought that they would be perfect in our home. I have a lot of different china and place settings that I just think are like very pretty. Just, it's always fun to set a table. Like, I mean, for Valentine's this year, we set the dining room table. My kids helped me, and our family, just the four of us, had dinner in the dining room. We actually ordered pizza and ate off of china in here. And my kids thought it was the most fun night they've ever had. So again, I encourage you to use all of your spaces because don't always save your china for a fancy dinner. Like, eat pizza off of them. I often get asked what color are the walls in the dining room. This is actually like a very subtle grass cloth, which I think it looks really cool. It adds like a layer of texture. Another thing I did not mention were the drapes. We have, again, I've mentioned that we have a house sconce, a house sisal. These are the house drapes. I actually used the same fabric for window panels in every single room in the house except for the office. My kids' rooms, all the guest rooms, all the living spaces have the same fabric, which in my opinion makes decorating a home so much easier. You pick one and then you get them all done for every space. Welcome to our kitchen, which is such a lovely space in my opinion. We completely redid this. As I mentioned, we redid pretty much everything in the house. The kitchen island used to actually have a cooktop on it. The refrigerator was over here. This was where the fridge currently is, was a china cabinet. With this space, I really wanted to see like wood. And so I feel like in our previous homes, we had white kitchens, and I love a white kitchen, but I wanted to really mix it up and just feel like this house had been here for a very long time. So the whole kitchen started with obviously the cabinetry and me committing to the wood cabinetry. And then we picked all these slabs. It was one of the first slabs that I saw at the marble slab yard. I think that's what they're called. The slab yard. And so I just thought it was like it just was loud, but also like refined at the same time, which I think made it really cool. I also decided on this countertop edge just to give like a little bit more detail in the kitchen, which I feel like a lot of kitchens, you're just play it safe. And I kind of wanted to get like a little crazy with the marble edge. When it comes to cooking, entertaining, all the things, I am very good at ordering in. I often get asked like, are you worried about your marble like getting damaged like with cooking and parties and kitchens? I do not care. I actually call it party marble because I think that marble in general tells a story with all the veining, but with every, ring mark or stain or anything, it's just kind of like, oh, well, it's okay. Like you have to live in your house. I would rather have marble and live than, I just don't want to worry about it. And I don't worry about it. Also, we did a honed marble, which I think does help cover up a lot of like the stains if you are worried about that. So with this kitchen, I knew that I'd already committed to doing the wood grain or the white oak wood, but I also wanted a lot of like gold and brass. I just think it's very timeless. I saw this stove at the showroom. It's Bertazzoni, it's Italian. It's beautiful. It also works very well. And I just think it elevates the kitchen. And it also ties in with the brass on the stove with all the brass hardware. I think it looks really pretty. Something that is very original to the house is the fireplace. This is actually a double-sided fireplace. So our main family room is on the other side. So it still feels like you're connected to like if someone's in there watching a movie or the kids are like reading, but you're also like in the kitchen. And I love a fireplace in a kitchen. It makes it feel like a really old house. Welcome to our breakfast nook. This is where we have almost every single meal. What makes this space so special is this table. So again, this was another exquisite piece done by Process Home, and we use it all the time. Whenever we first found this house, this was a space, this was actually a doorway that went to the outside, and that just didn't work for us. There's a lot of doors in this house. And if you have little kids, you really don't want that many doors. It's more places for them to escape. So we decided to swap the door, change it to a window, and just build in this grand built-in banquette. And so we can fit so many people around this table. It's fun for game nights. It's fun for casual dinners. Last Thanksgiving, we actually ate in here. We set the table and had friends and family over, had it catered, and it was truly the most perfect first Thanksgiving in this house because I didn't have to cook, and we had the football game on, and it just felt very casual and very fun. From the breakfast nook, we'll go into the main family room, which we actually opened up this wall to make the main family room feel more, have a better flow with the kitchen and the breakfast nook. So this is where we watch movies, football games, all the things, and where I feel like one of our most used spaces in the house. I'm gonna say that about every space because we really do use all the spaces. This is the other side to the double-sided fireplace. This fireplace is actually original, which I think it's really cool. I wanted to keep a lot of the original things that the previous owner had done because I feel like her taste was just so cool. Something we did add to this room, on the first floor, we added all the trim on the ceilings, we added the sconces, and we added everything to the room or to the house, but I just feel like those things make the room feel more warm. And I feel like sconce lighting is probably the most underrated thing you can do for your home. It just makes everything feel like very cozy and really lovely, especially at night with like a soft light. So yeah, we wanted in this space, we wanted a big sectional where we can cram like a bunch of family and kids and everything or everyone on this like couch. And so we are here all the time. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys this piece. I think it's so cool. We do have a playroom on the 3rd floor, but my kids don't always wanna go up 2 flights of stairs. So we have some toys and games and some of their favorite things stored away in here. So again, kids do live here, but you'll never be able to tell because of all the like organization that I've gotten to do throughout the house. So these built-ins, this built-in reading nook, and then these built-in shelves are original to the house. We had everything, you know, painted and refinished, which another thing I didn't mention, we do have a house paint. So the only color paint that we use in the home is White Dove. And so it just makes it very uncomplicated. My kids often like sit here and they cozy up and read a book. My daughter hides her treasures in these little drawers. So yeah, it's just like a fun little corners in our house. And I love like all the family photos. You know, we do live here and it just makes it like very cozy. And my kids always like to see pictures of when they were little or fun family things that we've done together. So one thing about my husband and I is we love a project and we love doing projects together. This is actually our 4th home renovation. This is the largest scale project we've ever done. We've renovated a few homes in Dallas. I built a home long distance in another state. And then this was kind of like the grand finale, which I say it's the grand finale, but you never know. But truly, I'm already implanting in my kids' minds that they will get married here. So hopefully this really will be our forever home. But the way I got started sharing the house was, I've always shared my life online, or I guess for the last 13 years, which is a big chunk of my life. And this house just organically became something very easy to share. It's really silly when you think about it, but you know, people want to know like what goes into renovating a home. And for me, it's second nature at this point, but people are curious. Also, people are nosy. People want to know like what you're doing and what changes you're making or what selections you're making, but it just became something that was very natural for me to share. And so I did it. I've shared majority of it, the highs and the lows of this project. Everything from, you know, finding like a beautiful light fixture at a consignment store or install days or when wallpaper goes up to, I call those the highs of the project. And then the lows of the project would be, you know, the company, the landscape architects putting the pool in the wrong place and the pool had to be demoed and moved. And it's just been quite a journey. So I've showed you guys the main family room. I'm gonna show you the fun adult room, AKA the green room. So come with me. Welcome to the green room, AKA our bar at home. like I've mentioned, we love to name a space. And so my husband named this space the green room for very obvious reasons. The green room started with us kind of wanting our own like at-home bar or gathering place. So I found this wallpaper at a showroom and I loved like the horses and all the colors and I loved the green. I also had said that when we started this home project that I wanted to find a place to incorporate green marble. And so the green room kind of like came about because of that. I was like, I really want to just like go for it. Because this room or this house really is like very cohesive. This is kind of like me being wild, I guess, like having a green room. So we have a lot of like parties, or we'll come here with friends and just hang out. My husband and I often just sit in here and like have a conversation or just like hang out, if you will. It's truly like our biggest like hangout place. And everyone kind of knows like, oh, we're gonna go to the green room. It's kind of where you start the night or where you end the night, which makes it a very fun space. My husband also collects tequila. So he has a lot of different options. If I knew anything about tequila, I would like guide you through, but I just know that the bottles are really pretty and they really enhance my green room vibe. So yeah, this is where we often just kind of like hang, and we'll sometimes have a bartender come in and just make margaritas for everyone because they always taste better when someone else makes it. We also have, some wine storage. One thing that is like really cool about this space is this is actually a dishwasher. So I kind of put them in like throughout the house, like dishwasher drawers, refrigerator drawers. We've got freezers. It just kind of makes things like disappear, but also like you can really exist like on this side of the house without having to run over to the kitchen. Okay, so I introduced you guys to Uncle George, the art piece in the foyer. I want to introduce you guys to Jose. This is a piece my husband and I bought, I believe in 2011 when we had just gotten married. It was $75 at a local consignment store. And the piece was called No Way Jose. And somehow Jose has always ended up, he was in the dining room at our old house. At another house, he was in a formal living room. He just kind of like always makes his way to like a very special place in our house. And so whenever the bar started coming about, my husband obviously is a big fan of tequila. He loves trying different tequilas. Jose he just vibed in this space. So Jose really is the green room mascot, if you will. So yeah, we love Jose and we love the art. I want to show you guys these little styros. I think they're so cute. It's the green room. It's a little play on the Beverly Hills Hotel font. We love doing that. One more thing I want to show you. Like I said, the house is called Arbble Manor. And so for like cocktail hours and all the things, we had these pretty glasses sketched with the house logo and the name. It's kind of fun. Okay, as I mentioned, we have the house logo kind of everywhere, but like kind of hidden at the same time. These are kind of fun. I added to around the house. They're on bedside tables, in bathrooms, in the bar, in all the rooms around the house. These are little Arbble Manor matchboxes. So when my husband decides to like have his friends over, and again, another cigar box. They've got matches for them to light all the cigars. We should play a game. Can you spot the cigar boxes? Because they're everywhere in my house. One of my favorite restaurants is the Polo Lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel, which when we came up with the name The Green Room, which is why we did the Beverly Hills Hotel font on the cups. So we also kind of wanted to make this room feel like a Polo Lounge, but in our house. So to make it feel very loungy, we did a built-in banquette. We've done the bistro tables. We did the sconces that kind of felt like very masculine and that gave this like Ralph Lauren like aesthetic. One other thing that we did that's pretty cool in my opinion is we wallpapered the ceiling. We wanted something that was like very reflective, but also made the ceiling just feel like lower and made the whole house just like very cozy. One thing that I think is like kind of fun is this little champagne bucket, which again, this is filed under an Etsy treasure find, which we love a treasure hunt. I think if you gave me an item to find online, I could find anything. We added these little seats for extra seating. They're on casters, so we can roll them around. We can move them into another space that's right off of this room. This room just really like, it flows with the house, and it also like really just works. One thing that's like kind of cool that you can do in your home is, you know, we had the can lighting surrounds. We had them painted to match the wallpaper. Another thing that we did is all of the speakers, they don't really look like speakers. They were painted over to kind of like blend with the ceiling. Basically, the sound system is really good in this room, but you don't even know that there's speakers in here, which I think is really cool. Now I'm gonna take you guys upstairs to see some of the bedrooms in our house. So excited. Welcome to the entryway to Wade and I's bedroom. I wanted to point out something that is one of my favorite pieces of art in the house. It's these two pieces that are in the entryway to our bedroom. These actually are from our honeymoon. We got married almost 13 years ago, and 13 years ago when we were on our honeymoon, we were sat next to an Argentinian artist at dinner. We were in Monaco for our honeymoon, and we were at Hotel de Paris, and we were next to, his name was Horacio Cordero. And he's now deceased, but his works of art are shown all over the world. They're in the Met, they're in South America. He's just so talented. And so this was a napkin from Hotel de Paris when we were actually having cocktails with him. We, you know, again, it's like when you join tables in Europe, everyone's just like friends over there. And he took a Sharpie out of his bag and sketched this piece on the linen napkins from the bar at Hotel de Paris. And it says, just married, like, Viva los novios. Has the date when we were there. And then it says Monaco. And then this is one of the cooler things. This was another night we actually like befriended them, and they invited us because, you know, we were the two little kids. We were 24 when we got married. And so they invited us to dinner. This was the night before Prince Albert got married in Monaco. And so Giorgio Armani was there doing the princess to be her wedding dress. And so somehow we ended up at dinner with the same artist, Horacio Cordero, and we were with Giorgio Armani and this whole like fun group of people, and all these pieces were made. And so I just put them in my bag because they gifted them to us, just said, you know, congratulations on getting married. So we've always like kept them in like very special places in our home. And it's, again, it's art that you can do with whomever you live with or wherever you live. You can just make it yourself. Like, art doesn't have to be this like intimidating thing. It can be something as simple as a special linen napkin that you frame beautifully and you end up putting in your home. Welcome to Wade and I's bedroom. Whenever we were envisioning this space, we knew that there was so much natural light. We kind of refer to it as almost a tree house because the views are amazing. We can see the water from our bedroom, which I think is really unique, especially in the heart of Dallas. I wanted our bedroom to just feel like very crisp, clean, cozy, but also like you're in a hotel, because I feel like at the end of the day, you really want to just like unwind and just put your head on a pillow where you just feel like very relaxed. And our bedroom just makes us feel like very like at ease and relaxed, which is why I love it. So what's kind of fun about this bedroom is I'm going to show you guys a piece in the corner. It's another piece from the original homeowner. She had this in a downstairs bedroom, and I just thought it was so, so pretty. I use it to store old calendars, but I just think it's like very nice to have collected pieces throughout your home. This is one of my favorite little nooks in our bedroom. This is a place where my husband and I will drink morning coffee, admire the water, watch a little TV. It's just like very calm in here, which I think is something that is very important when you're creating your bedroom and your personal space. This is another really cool light fixture. This one is actually from a local antique store. I think what's so special about this house is how intentional everything is. And I think that by adding an antique, it just makes it feel like very lived in and very cozy. I feel like with this house in particular, it just felt like it needed to be very collected and cohesive, which in our previous homes, I've always been very big on like making the home cohesive. But there's something about this house that I just wanted it to feel like very warm and kind of like a store, I guess. I know that's kind of a weird way to describe your home, but someone once told me you should always walk into someone's home and never know if children or dogs live there. And I don't know if that's like a good thing to say or a bad thing to say, but it really resonated with me. And so I've found myself when creating this space or a home in general to find a place for everything. So we truly have used every inch of this home. You could open any cabinet, any drawer, and I've organized it. Everything has a place, but in regards to decorating the home, I just wanted it to feel like very moody and like a vibe, like where you come in here and normally we have like music playing throughout the home and it just, you kind of feel like you're in a hotel, and maybe some people don't like that, but we like that, and so that's kind of all that matters. Welcome to Wade and I's bathroom. This bathroom is so good in my opinion. I think something that makes it like very unique is that we decided to do the wood floors in the bathroom. Something that's like often asked is, does your wood floor, like does water get on it? Is that weird having wood floors in your bathroom? We're adults, and so we know not to like throw bath water out of the bathtub. So wood floors are great in a bathroom if you're just looking to like make it like a little bit more warm. With this space, we kept the bones of how it originally was. We just completely started from scratch-ish, I guess. I picked out this marble. I thought it was like very pretty. It just felt like very much like a bathroom marble, if you will. I mean, actually I would put this marble anywhere, but I loved it so much I wanted to see it all the time. So I put it in our bathroom. We did it on the countertops, we did it in the shower, and then also surrounding the bathtub. I wanted to do it like, or put the marble like up the walls and around the bathtub. Another question I often get asked about bathtub, a freestanding versus a built-in. I've had both, I love both, but with this house, I really wanted a built-in tub because there's nothing nicer than sitting in the bath and being able to put like all your products along the side or even your phone. Because if you have a freestanding tub, I feel like all my stuff would just fall off the side or into the tub, which defeats the purpose. Something that's really pretty about this bathroom is this antique light fixture. As I've mentioned, we wanted to just like incorporate like a lot of unique things into the space. One thing that is one of my favorite things, I guess, with our shower, we put speakers in the shower, which it's so fun to like get dressed and like you turn up the music, turn on your favorite songs, and just listen to music like while you're shaving your legs, which is a luxury to say the least. So yeah, this is our bathroom. Wade and I both have our own vanities. This is my side. I have the little space where I can sit on this happy little stool and do my makeup, get dressed. We love this space and it flows like very well for us and our kids when they're in here. Welcome to my daughter's room. This is my daughter, or our daughter Vivian's room. She's 3.5, and it's truly like such a happy, girly space, but also childish, but also like young adult at the same time. I feel like she's really going to be able to grow into this space. So this whole room started with the wallpaper. I feel like when I was little, I had floral wallpaper and I wanted to do something similar for Vivian. And so we picked this like very girly, kind of like not too pink, not too blue, just kind of very like subtle wallpaper. And then we did a matchback fabric for her bed frame, which I think is very charming and pretty. As you'll see when you see our little boy's room, he has a chair in his room. So for my daughter, I wanted to mix it up and do a really cute little couch. She often reads here, she takes naps, she does all the things on this. And I feel like maybe when she gets older, if she needed a desk in her room, this would be a really nice place for a desk. But for now, like a nice love seat where we can like read stories at night works very well. I want to point out one of my favorite things about Vivian's room is her bathroom. It is so girly and the most fun thing. Like I mentioned, for the green room, I wanted a green marble. For my daughter's room, I wanted a pink marble, because what is more girly than pink marble? So we kind of went with this like peachy pink Beverly Hills Hotel marble, and I think it's so fun. And we did a pretty color to match back to the marbles. Cute little like just little brass knobs. I did brass in her bathroom just to make it like a little bit different. Throughout the rest of the house, besides the kitchen, we have just polished nickel, but I think it's just so cute. And one thing that I have admired for years, even when my son was born, were these little bow sconces. I think they're just the cutest thing ever. And so I knew immediately that I wanted to do those bow sconces when we figured we were going to redo this bathroom and move into the house. This bathroom actually used to belong to another guest room that is next door. Originally in this house, my son's room and my daughter's room were connected via a large bathroom, and they were Jack and Jill, but having a boy and a girl, I wanted Vivian to have her own space. And so we knocked out this wall, we added the double doors, and we made her own bathroom for her. Vivian loves this bathroom so much. She has cute little drawers filled with like all of her bows. She has her pretend makeup, which she does her morning glam every morning. And by glam, I mean she puts her pretend lipstick and pretend blush on before she goes to school. It's pretty cute. What do I love most about my home? You guys, I love everything about it. Everything. There's not a room that I don't care for. Actually, there's one thing I don't like about it. We've got a tiny closet in the back that I'm about to like redo and wallpaper. Like that's how like crazy this house is. But I just love how everything is like so pretty. I think it's a beautiful house. I love that it's on the water, which there's a pond in the back, which is pretty cool. It's very like whimsical for our kids. Our kids can run around and they can play, but they can't hurt anything. And so I think that that's something that's really cool about this home, is it looks beautiful, it is beautiful, but it's also like very functional for a family to live in it. And we do use every single room. Welcome to Ralph's room. When we started designing this space with Lonnie, I knew I wanted Ralph to have a similar color palette as his sister Vivian. We've kind of kept with like the sky blues and the light blues, but I also wanted it to feel like he's really gonna also grow into this space. And so we decided to do this upholstered bed for him. in this like lovely sky blue fabric, the window pane sky blue. And one of my favorite things that Process Home did were these bedside tables. I feel like he is going to have them forever. Or if he doesn't have them forever, I will have them forever because they are so refined, so classic, also masculine. They're lovely for a 6-year-old's bedroom, in my opinion. One thing that we did keep from the original owner of the house was the paneling on the wall. We refinished the paneling, but I thought it was so cool to do something different or keep something different than my daughter has wallpaper. My son has this like really beautiful wood paneling. Something that I've mentioned throughout this home tour is art. And I mentioned it down in the office, the Porsche photos that we had done before Ralph was born. And this was another one. This is actually my husband's arm. And again, we had a photographer do this, and this was in his original nursery. And so I just think it's a really cool way to make something your own and make it feel like very personal. So now Ralph has a really cool picture of his dad in one of his dad's favorite cars in his room, which I think is like it's really special. Something that's really fun is Ralph's fixture. This is actually his original fixture from his nursery when he was born in 2017. It's actually moved with us to 3 different houses. I think I get really attached to fixtures. I mean, I still have a piece of a light fixture from when I was a little girl, so maybe that's a whole nother thing that I need to dive into. But this is an antique. It was actually originally brass, and we had it sprayed or paint matched to the original sky blue color that was in his nursery, which is something that I didn't even know you could do until, probably 6 years ago. But you can take all these really cool light fixtures, and if the color's off or if you want it to be an actual color or the finish is off, you can change it to anything. So this was a shiny brass, and now it's a lovely sky powder blue. I just think it's really cool that you can literally paint anything or change anything with just a little bit of time and effort. It's makes it unique. So this is the bathroom that I was talking about. It originally was a Jack and Jill, and it was a shared bathroom, which connected my daughter's room and my son's room. And so we walled it off. We ended up doing a really cool mirror so it doesn't look like it was a breeze through. But this is his bathroom. I would take this bathroom. It has so much storage, has the double sink. Something that I think is really cool is that it has a bathtub and it has a separate shower. So it really was built to function for multiple children. But now Ralph just gets to enjoy it. So that's pretty fun. And he has so many little storage spaces that were here. I just put my own spin on it, if you will. The wood paneling was originally a wood, and so I had it all refinished and painted to white dove, which is the house paint. When we saw this house for the first time, we walked up to the 3rd floor, and it was nothing. It was an attic. There were no walls. There was nothing. And so we knew that this was an opportunity to build out an amazing, amazing space for our family. So of course, my husband said the number one thing that he wanted in the house was a golf simulator room. And so that's what we did. This is our golf simulator room, which surprisingly is one of our most used spaces. I think that I've said that about every space in the house, but this truly is used so much. This is also such a brain of Lonnie Grover. He designed and made this space truly functional for our family. We wanted the golf simulator space to look very non-commercial and an extended arm of the home. And so that's what this space is. What's so cool about it is instead of doing the traditional black tarps that they normally put in these, we padded and did fabric on all the walls, which makes it feel very cool and elevated. Something that I learned with this house is the size of stairwells matters. And I think that probably a lot of people deal with this. I've never had to deal with this because I've always lived in a home, but with this house going up to the 3rd floor, the stairwell was a bit tight. So this couch, or these 2 oversized chairs, were actually originally a couch. And Lonnie has brought to my attention that you can cut anything. And so they cut the couch in half to like allow them to be taken up the stairwells. So now we have 2 oversized, we call them 1.5 chairs, which is also the perfect spot to sit down and relax and watch whomever is hitting on the golf simulator. This is probably going to be the cheesiest answer to the question, what makes a house a home? But I would say the people that are in it, because that's the biggest thing that we've tried to implement with our children is things don't matter, stuff doesn't matter, it's just the people that you're with. And so for us, what makes a house a home is the voices and the people and the parties and the gathering spaces and, you know, sparking joy to others, I guess. I don't know. A place where everyone feels comfortable makes us happy.
Homeworthy, I'm Eric.
And I'm Ruth Ann Ross. Welcome to Boxwood Hill in Nashville, Tennessee.
Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi there, I'm Eric Ross. I'm an interior designer.
And I'm Ruth Ann Ross, and I am the business manager for Eric Ross Interiors.
And we are in Boxwood Hill, our home in Nashville, Tennessee. We are in a part of Nashville called Oak Hill, which is an incorporated little city. And we have 2.5 acres, which is unusual to be so close to downtown and yet feel like you're, you know, on a piece of property. So it's actually very nice. It's very green. We did spend a lot of time working on the grounds. It was kind of wild when we bought the property. And so we did an expansion 3 years ago to the house, and we upgraded a lot of the grounds when we did that project. So this is our 3rd summer for a lot of these things that we planted. I do like naming things just to provide more romance around it, and it's storytelling. It's a part of storytelling, which is what I do as a designer for clients anyway, is when we're creating their homes, there's a big component to storytelling when we're creating these rooms for them and learning about their families. So it just seems fitting, I think, to continue that on our own property.
You know, the house was originally built in 1937, and
27.
it was 27.
Yes,
excuse
sorry.
me. And it was a duplex at the time that it was built. So this house has had numerous iterations. The owner previous to us converted the home from a duplex into a single family home. And so they did a lot of renovations. We've done a lot of renovations. This house has just continued to morph over the years. But that was why when we first were struggling with how to give flow and have nice open spaces for entertaining large groups, we were restricted somewhat by the house structurally because there's 2 separate fireplaces and chimneys that go all the way through the attic. Well, that leaves you unable to move walls and things like
expensive.
that.
It becomes expensive.
Yes.
You're not unable, but the
Rosses are unable.
We do have a budget. Well, welcome to the living room. And this is the first room you enter when you come to Boxwood Hill. and we decorated it in all neutrals because at the time this house was decorated after the rest of the house was decorated because we did it on our second renovation, and so I didn't want to introduce more color. And to be honest with you, I had that skirted table made for a show house and I had it left. So that sort of dictated how we were going to decorate this room. So we had curtains made to match the skirted table, and we had the wallpaper installed to match the drapery in the table. I do love to use things in mass, a certain print, and this is a printed iCat. So a true iCat is woven. This is printed both on the fabric and on the paper, obviously. So that's really was the impetus of the design choices in here. And this is the mantle we had redone to make it more historic looking. I didn't go overly decorative on it because this house always used the word noble to describe the house because it's not huge, it's not overly large, and we only have 9-foot ceilings downstairs, so I want to keep things in scale. I talk about this a lot with clients, the importance of size. And so I kept it pretty diminutive, and we have it full of antiques. So I can describe as much or as little as you want to know about. One thing about Ruth Ann and I both is we remember everything we ever bought, who from, where we were, what the occasion.
Remember. You remember everything.
Good.
I remember most things.
Yes.
One of our favorite things in this room, I will say we both agree on this one, is this gorgeous mirror that Eric found from one of our favorite dealers, Caroline Faison in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I was hoping that it would end up at a client's home, but he loved it so much it ended up at our home.
Yes, a lot of things end up at our house, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for me, but unfortunately for our pocketbook. Well, I do mix high and low a lot. I have a hard time getting rid of things. So things that we bought we were first married that weren't necessarily fine or expensive, I still use today and have a hard time parting with just because, well, we've already spent the money on and they do have some meaning. So this is actually an antique French bench that was stripped, and it had the original fabric on it, and then our dog destroyed it.
Yes, so we had to recover the seat cushion because the dog shredded what was there. But
he used to jump up in.
It was his favorite place to sit.
Yeah, and look, it used to be in front of where he could see outside. So we moved it in here eventually. That was in another house, and then of course a portrait of our daughter at 3.
And because I'm a proud mother, I have to share, we had this portrait done when she was 3 years old, and then a couple years ago when she graduated from high school, we had her senior portrait done by the same artist. And I think it turned out lovely and is something that we will always cherish.
So yeah, those are in here. The chairs are French bergère. I don't have all of my Louis memorized. They're all, Louis 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There's basically the rule is as they get older, as you get the Louis hit the 17 and 18, they become more elaborate. So this is probably more like Louis the 16th, Louis the 17th, maybe if I'm guessing. And we bought these from a dealer that we buy a lot of things for clients, and he had these already recovered. And I knew I was going to do neutrals. These were in our bedroom at one point, and we moved them down here. So things can move around also. But this is a wonderful find that we love. This is an old fender that was reconditioned for the fireplace, and it's a screen actually, not a fender. And a fender has fabric on it. Sorry, but this is old brass with new screen, with a new iron screen. Which we love, and then these andirons are also from Caroline Faison. Mm-hmm. So they're antique as well. This is actually a vintage Henredon chest. This is not an antique technically. This is probably from the 70s, but it's done in a Bombay French style that we bought at like a vintage shop years ago here in Nashville when we were way younger. This is one of the pieces that I just can't get rid of. Also because of the sentimental, I remember where we bought it. But I also like the size of it because this is actually a main traffic thoroughfare. And so it's low and narrow, so it fits nicely here. I feel like if there were a taller chest, it would feel, I don't want to hit my hips with it. So that's really one of the reasons we've kept it here. And then this is a king's chair we bought years ago, and I had recovered in a favorite fabric. This lived in our other house in the living room, And I love this fabric so much, I couldn't tear myself away from it, so I decided to slip cover it.
In case he should
In case I want to go back to the other fabric. But this is an antique. This is a English armchair with French. This probably is more Italian, honestly. And I could go into the differences, but I won't bore you with all of that.
Please no.
This is an antique tilt-top table that the top does tilt and has a little brass inlay in the top. And then these are paper-mache seashells that have little Japanese paper art. You know, they're just really cool with gold leaf. So I like things, so we have a lot of collections. This stool, do you know about that? Do you remember we bought this in Charleston for a client and they returned it? So it ended up in our house.
Yes.
This is Italian.
I had thought that was for a show house in Castro,
we bought it
North
for
Carolina.
a client in Charleston.
Okay.
When we went to Charleston, and this is all hand carved. So these are dogs, and it's just incredible with these lion's paw feet that all have. You can see if you close up. There's the hair is carved into it. It's pretty fantastic, really.
As we said earlier, one of the things we wanted to do was expand the entertaining space. And so 3 years ago, I think it was, we added the field room, which is right here adjacent off of our living room, to give us additional entertaining space.
This is the field room, and I call it the field room because you overlook a field. It's not any special, no one's come up with this term. We just made it up. And the walls, I wanted this to feel like an elevated fish camp, like from the 40s. It's kind of what I was going for with the knotty pine. I did want it to feel more masculine. I wanted it to have the feel of a library, but there are no bookshelves, so it's not really a library.
One of the things that Eric's favorite room in a place that we vacation frequently is Highlands, North Carolina, and his favorite room is the Hummingbird Lounge at Old Edwards. Now, this room doesn't look like that room, but this came out of his love of that space and how it felt. The old Persian rugs on the floor, the wood paneled walls, all of those things. And so that inspired him to want to build something that had that same feeling here at Boxwood Hill. And so he collaborated with a great friend of ours, James Dunn, who is the owner of Vintage Millworks. And James Dunn was able to sketch Eric's ideas and all of the elevations for over the fireplace mantle and the surround, the fireplace itself. James is incredibly skilled at hand drawing and sketching. And so the arched entry, all of the things, he was able to help Eric's vision for the room come to life.
I basically described to James what I want. I want an elliptical entry. I want a pediment over mantle. And then he'll say, like this?
And the windows, the oval windows were something
dormers,
else that he
wanted. Which I thought would be very easy to do, and they were not. So this room was something that we needed to expand our home for more entertaining space. And we also needed just more light, I think, too, in this side of the house. So we have windows everywhere. We have French doors on either end, so on a pretty day we can open the doors. The only negative is the traffic sound. So sometimes that doesn't, if it's not a weekend, then we don't really open the doors because you do get a lot of noise because we are on a main thoroughfare in town. So, but yeah, I wanted it to feel historic. We aligned the fireplaces. That's something I worked with the drafts person that helped me with the plans for this room, was I wanted the fireplaces to mirror each other. So I was very intentional about the layout, with the fireplaces, with the French doors, with the oval
dormers,
the oval dormers, thank you. So, and we do watch TV. We live in this room, so we have a television out of sight from when you come in, and it's on a tilt arm. So we do live in this part of the house most of the time.
So one of the things that this space allows us to do is to be able to set a long banquet table, fireplace to fireplace, the full length of the room, and be able to host our 20 some odd guests at a sit down dinner every fall. And so, yes, we are the crazy people that build an entire room so that we can have a party. I don't know that other people necessarily build a room just for that one reason.
It's multifunction. It's
yes.
multifunction. So we do now. Most of this furniture is new. Honestly, it's upholstery. I usually specify new upholstery because it's just more comfortable for living. Because that's part of, again, going back to my ability for rooms I want them to be approachable, people to be comfortable in them. So the few antiques we have in this room is this wonderful, this is a Regency style cane back chair for a gentleman. It's very deep, but it's small. I do like to have a lot of seating in a room. That's something else I try to do with a lot of the rooms that I work on, is get a lot, like at least 8-10 seats in a room if I can for adults. So we had this one recovered. Again, this is a great dealer that I work with a lot, that I found this with, but it's really a pretty piece, and our dog loves to sit in this chair. This is really his chair. And then with this is an antique tilt-top game table. And you can see it has a small checkerboard in the center. So it's just a cool piece. It's all inlaid. This is Italian. Again, just very charming, has a lot of visual interest.
But super practical, because on occasion Eric and I will both sit here and have our dinner. I sit here most nights and have my glass of wine, but occasionally I will clear it down more where he and I can both sit there for dinner, and it's nice just to have a different venue now that we're empty nesters and there's just two of us here at home.
Yeah. Originally, Ruth Ann wanted the television over the mantle, which no one really likes.
I knew that would never fly.
But it would. This is one of the first things you see when you walk in the front door, and so I didn't want you to be able to see a television. So, we worked through all that and found a solution, so I could have the sofa here, and she could have her chair here and table, so we could all access the television.
And I'll show you, the television is on a swing arm.
This is not new technology.
But it's discreet. So it's not the first thing you see when you walk in the room, but then you can see it from every space and every part of the room, wherever you're seated. These chairs swivel, and so people can turn around and be able to look at the television if
but
you
all
were
of our
sitting
friends
here.
do make fun of our lack of technology in the house.
And how small our television is.
Our televisions, I think they're plenty big, but they're not, I think that's 42 inches.
We are not the hosts of the big game parties.
No, we don't.
Let's put it that way.
I don't have a room for a big ugly television. Televisions are not pretty. Anyway. Well, I love blue and white. Well, blue and white we have always loved, and we have loved blue and white when we were married. When we were married, we registered for blue and white, which at the time, this was '95. No one was registering. Blue was out of style, so everybody was still doing hunter green and burgundy and all that. So we decided to do a lot of blue and white in our dishes and everything. So we've always loved blue and white, which blue and white now is super popular.
Hot.
Everybody does it now, which is I still love it regardless.
We were ahead of the trend. Just like with Downton Abbey, we were watching Downton Abbey before anybody else was too.
But these are just, decorative blue and white. They're mocks of Chinese import porcelain, which is a very traditional antique, but these are not antique. They're new.
They're new.
Made to look like reproduction. They are reproductions. But I bought them at different times. I think this one's like from Ralph Lauren.
Ralph Lauren home.
So they're not fine, but they're both ginger jar shapes. And I elevated this one on books to get the height up. So these are tricks that we use a lot of times when we're trying to use the things we already have. By stacking your lamp on books, it gets the scale better for the table.
One of my favorite hobbies, and I could spend a whole Saturday just styling and setting a table, is creating a tablescape for any kind of event. And so I have our table here set for brunch, and thankfully the peonies that bloom out by the front gate have decided to show off this week and created my centerpiece. Easy breezy. So this is just how we like to do it.
Yes, I don't like to have a table set all the time. We have it set a different way when we're not having a dinner party or a luncheon. So this was nice that she had this, and this time of year with the peonies blooming was perfect. They're absolutely knockout this year.
And you can see we do love blue and white. So as you come into our kitchen, the conservatory, you're going to see a lot more of our collections that have come over the years and things that we have come to love. this Italian sideboard that we bought from Kim Faison. Caroline Faison, who we mentioned earlier, her daughter sold this to Eric back at the Antiques and Garden Show of Nashville a couple years ago. She was kind enough to personally hand deliver it to our house. But these lovely little Italian porcelain tulipiers are something that I love. Some beautiful blue and white plates that Eric, I think, purchased.
Those are from Kim,
my little sweet collection of KLM villages, the little houses that are actually liquor bottles for KLM Airlines, but I thought they were cute and just something fun to add to our collection.
The lamps are not special, they're new, but they are. I use these a lot. I bet you I buy these by the half dozen in pairs. But they are a nice small size, and they give you a sense, there's a sense of modernity to them because of how clean they are and because they're metal, but they don't take up a lot of space. So I like them and I use them a lot in various spaces. The mirror is spectacular. It's antique French. Yeah, it's antique French. I bought this from a dealer in Atlanta. And it's got the original glass, which you can see with the mercury. The silvering has peeled off, but it has hand-carved birds. All this is hand-carved. I mean, it's absolutely spectacular. The wall treatment people ask me about a lot on social media. This is actually fabric that we backed with acrylic so that it could be pasted to the wall. So I wanted this whole, I knew when we bought this house, I wanted the kitchen to be beige and cream plaid or check with window treatments. There's a lot of cabinetry in this kitchen, and the cabinetry was all pre-existing, and we painted it, changed all the hardware, and changed some of the molding. We simplified a lot of that. It had heavy carving. It was more French, and I wanted it more English, so we changed the crown molding treatments. We took the corbel. We did several things we took off just to clean it up. And so we added the window treatments, and I just wanted it to feel really special. It really, because it is open to the rest of the house, I didn't want it to feel so much like a kitchen, like utilitarian. I wanted it to be dressy.
There were things about the kitchen when we bought the house that I didn't care for, and the tile backsplash or the countertops.
Oh, here's where she explains why she always apologizes for our backsplash.
I didn't love those things, but it seemed really senseless to tear them out, and they weren't so offensive that they had to go. And Eric always has a saying, if it's ugly, decorate it. He can make anything pretty by decorating. And so he really did in this space, bringing the buffalo check fabric throughout and giving us pretty curtains and using the upholstered walls. And I thought, who upholsters walls in a kitchen? You shouldn't upholster walls in a kitchen. Isn't that going to get stained? But thankfully, it's all in places where it's out of the way of any cooking spills or splatter, and dishwashing splatter. Everything there is tiled. And so I think it has really showcased what Eric is so good at, which is decorating. And people always tell us when they look at our kitchen, they're like, I never would have thought of putting blue and white lamps on your kitchen counter, but he did, and that is genius. So
well, I like that we leave them on, so they're kind of like a night light at nighttime. So if there's any reason we have to come down in the middle of the night to get a drink of water, or we're coming in late from an event, there's always a light on. The other thing I would want to mention of the breakfast room before we left, I thought we jumped into this kitchen without explaining. The centerpiece, the real showstopper, I think, in this room is this antique English lantern. And we found this from a dealer in Atlanta, and she had it electrified. It's an old gas lantern, and when we turned the corner, we were shopping, and I was like, that's the lantern for the breakfast room. So we bought it. And we did also add in this tray, the tray was just drywall, and we added Pecky cypress, which is a material that I love to use in a lot of my projects. I just love the distressed nature of it. We left it raw. So now it has more character. And then this is an antique, pine table. I do love pine. So we do have a few antiques in here, and I paired it with the white wicker just because I think it's charming, and these chairs are actually very comfortable. Yeah.
If you'll follow me, everyone always asks what my favorite room in the house is, and it's probably the smallest room in the house, but I would love to share with you my dish room, aka the party room, and it was the one thing that I wanted when I moved to Boxwood Hill was a great space to store all of my things for hosting fabulous parties. And when ladies come over, they just come in here and ooh and ah and love it. And I did style it after some photographs that I have seen that Bunny Williams has the most fabulous pantry of anybody. And so I styled it that way, and I'd love for you to take a look. Wanted a great space to be able to store my linens, so I have my tablecloths hanging. I have storage for napkins, and they can stay folded. I have pumpkin soup bowls for the fall party that are here stored behind the curtains. And so silver trays, chafing dishes, all of those things, all of my cookbooks. And then you've got to have extra dish storage for your fall party dishes, your Christmas dishes, candles, you know, the good old fashioned brunch dishes that your mother passes down to you. So it's just my favorite space because it's all right here and it's handy, and I'm not having to climb up into an attic to get it out when I want to use it. And Eric came up with a way to incorporate this fabric that's so happy and cute. And once again, we had it acrylic backed and applied it to the walls and to the ceiling and for the skirt, just to make this a special happy space. So when Eric and I were married, it was December 16th, 1995. And Gail Pittman had just come out with a brand new collection called Hallelujah. And it was, our first piece was a giant platter, which I've got stashed over here. And someone gave it to us as a wedding gift. And we both fell in love with it. And ever since, we have been collecting it and using it every Christmas. And I look forward to the opportunity to set my table with this. And I still, 28 years later, have not gotten tired of it. And of course, for the fall party, we use woodland spode. I try to choose the pieces that have the ducks and the dogs. Those are our favorite things. But I also like to have it in here kind of on display. And it's just special to be able to collect it. And when I couldn't afford to have enough pieces, Eric has a dear client who was always kind enough to loan me the extra pieces that I need if my party was bigger than what I had the dishes to accommodate. So a million years ago, Eric, for some reason, Gump's catalog was selling this pattern, which is called Amari Garden. I think this was one of our very first blue and white patterns. So I have the platters here, 2 of them here. And when we were building this room, I measured each and every one of my platters to see the height of them so that I could be sure that this bookcase would accommodate all the different sizes that I have and give me a place to put them. This beautiful Jaliska bowl that my mother gave us is my favorite salad bowl, and so it's very large, and being able to accommodate that is wonderful. But display it where you can see it all the time, and it's pretty. And of course, Eric and I have collected the blue and white Jaliska. What's the name of the pattern?
Like
do you remember?
Garden Pavilion, maybe.
Garden Pavilion. Anyway, the blue and white Jaliska pattern we have enjoyed and used for years.
I love this kitchen. We get lots of compliments on it, but Ruth Ann does hate the backsplash, which she talked about earlier. But my favorite thing about it is the cross light. Anytime you can get, well, windows on 2 sides of a kitchen is very rare, honestly. Mm-hmm. And 3 sides is extremely rare. So we have windows on all 3 sides of the kitchen. This large one that looks out onto the property, which is beautiful with the tree this time of year, the summertime, is magnificent. And then we have, Ruth Ann loves topiaries and plants and flowers, if you haven't picked up on that yet. So we always have some semblance of a garden like on this side with the light. So this is a little more filtered on this side, so there's always some transitioning plant story happening here that I have to try to come in and edit, but I've sort of given up.
In my defense, we are in the middle of shooting Eric's second book. And one of the things that comes along with photographing home after home after home is the need for an entire nursery full of plants and flowers and things to style those homes. And so in an effort to cut down on having to replace them every single time, I try to keep them alive and use them. And so each year, the Antique and Garden Show has a vendor that comes and brings the myrtle topiaries and the lavender topiaries and the rosemary. And so I buy them and then use them in photography of his projects. So it's doing double duty.
She just needs a reason to buy.
Yes. I feel justified in spending money on plants and flowers.
So this is the kitchen that we've it really works great for parties, large island. We have 4 bar stools here, so it really works. She uses it a lot for cooking and for entertaining. So it is open to our den, which is, I briefly talked about the staircase that used to be here. So as we leave the kitchen, we can walk straight into the den.
And tell you a little bit about the renovation that had to happen in order to make this have a complete flow between the 2 rooms.
My personal style is Southern traditional. It's a lot of, that is, the way I would describe Southern traditional is by using a lot of antiques, a lot of heritage pieces like from family members, dressier probably, more elegant or formal. I do like my rooms to be livable. I think that's a hallmark of my design style is approachability. So we do use our furniture, our dogs, like you can't maybe see, but one of our dogs is sitting next to me right now sleeping. So nothing's really off limits. So I like antiques because they do, again, tell a story. They hearken to a time past. They create romance in the home. You know, instantly in new homes, if you put something antique in them, it just feels more established and more grounded. So that's really just what I love. I like a lot of fabric and window treatments. Ruth Ann jokes I'm an 80-year-old woman inside. So I do like a lot of like more fluff, you know, than you might expect. But it is something that I've done it's my 26th year decorating for a living. And my clients, people that I work for really search out and want to work with me because I do use a lot of fabrics and antiques. So it's sort of become a niche over the years, but it's true to what I love.
So, as Eric told you earlier, I was the one who would not buy this house or look at this house because the kitchen was separate from the den. And I wanted to be a part of the action on a weeknight or during a party. And so Eric convinced me to take out the staircase that separated the den here from the kitchen. And so where we are standing was actually a stairwell that came down from the second floor. It also had a doorway right here that went down into our basement, which is now Eric's studio for his interior design business. But because we had a front staircase to the upstairs and because we had another basement entry to the studio, we didn't feel like a second was necessary and that it would give the home a lot more flow. So we took out the staircase that actually was right here where we're standing.
Yes, well, and the irony was this is an exterior wall, so the staircase was supporting the wall.
Yes, so we had to put a large header.
Huge beam in there. So yeah, that really did open all this up for traffic flow.
I think one of the things too that everyone always comments about in this space is the Pecky cypress beams on the ceiling. Eric used those in the kitchen over the table to clad that whole area, but then we had these installed. So they really are decorative. They're not structural, but the Pecky cypress repetition there and in the bookcase over here, I think gives the room a lot more style and warmth and gives it that old charm that we were looking for. And people constantly want to know about the color green.
This was our den. Well, it still is our den, but this is where we lived for the first 3 or 4 years that we lived in this house.
Before the field room was built, we actually used this room a whole lot more. Now it's kind of a nice quiet place to get away and read or take a nap, but everybody always loves how cozy it is. And so in the wintertime, it's nice to have this little small, intimate space.
And of course, this dark green wall, really the inspiration was like Ralph Lauren, who is a style icon, and he's American, so that's good too. And the dark colors, the love of green, the love of wildlife that he uses a lot too. So I have these Audubon reproduction prints. So this is kind of really where the room started. I knew I wanted this dark green room. I knew I was going to be using the Pecky Cypress. And so this fabric that I love, this is actually a polished chintz from Lee Joffa. It's a Oscar de la Renta, who I also love. And he did a home collection for them for fabrics, and it's just incredible, but it's very expensive. So I just put it on the valances and on this little slipper chair, which actually it's a full-size chair. Again, this goes back to how I love to make rooms usable and have more adults in them. So now we have a full seat here, plus, the seat here. These are that's a vintage leather piece that I found at a local dealer. And then this is an antique French sofa that I found. It already had this wonderful velvet, this Italian velvet on it. So, and it's comfortable. I take naps on it.
I actually like a firm bed, and so it's perfect for me to take naps on.
Yes. So we've had these benches forever. These are not fine, but they're 2 benches put together for a cocktail table, and people always comment. I've done this for clients many times too, because this is actually not expensive, and you can pull them apart and use them, which we did for years at that party we were talking about.
Each side of the table, if you need to have extra seating, just take the benches away and use them for the table. And nothing is more quintessential in Ralph Lauren home style than the leather. So you've got the dark wood, you've got the blue and white, you've got the Persian rugs,
and you got wool
and
plaid.
The wool plaid. I mean, Eric tried to, I think, do all of the things that make us both love that look and that style so much. Our friends went to New York to see Hamilton, and we were invited to go along, and Eric and I skipped Hamilton, and we hung out at the Ralph Lauren Polo Bar and store all night long, instead fun. Because it just feels so good to us.
So this is one of our favorite rooms in the house, and we get probably the most comments on social media questions regarding this room. And
tell them the names.
You tell them, because I don't remember. I never
remember.
It's
Benjamin
the names.
Moore Peel Green. People always want to know the name of the paint color.
Yes, because I always get confused between this and all of our interior doors are painted a different shade of green.
Chrome green.
From Benjamin Moore too. So people always ask about those 2 colors, and I can't ever keep them straight. So
one of our favorite antiques in the house is the grandfather clock.
This is one of our favorite pieces, and I feel like I need to tell a story since it was your birthday present. Ha ha ha.
I get the oddest things as birthday gifts.
So anyway, I had been stalking this clock forever, and it's a true English case clock. It has all the original workings, the original weight. It's all brass inside. If you look inside, you have to get a light in there, but it's a very fine clock, and clocks are expensive. So and this one wasn't at the time that bad. So I remember stalking it, and it's the scale is wonderful to find one this tall. It's like 101 inches, I think, and just the mahogany inlays or veneers are beautiful. Yeah, so it's just a special piece. And also I love the toll painting on the face of it. We have spaniels, so there's a spaniel chasing the horseman. English clocks are the most desirable because they're the most dependable for keeping time. So
Eric had taken me time and time
to look at this clock,
to look at a lot of different clocks. And after a few years, he wore me down, and I was like, you know what? That one really does have the prettiest face of any of them. I didn't want the roses and the cherubs and the very Victorian feeling face. I didn't want the phases of the moon that you often see. And so I conceded that, yes, this was the prettiest one. However, he decided, I forget what birthday, 35, I don't know. He said, well, I was thinking about buying you a new car, but instead I went and bought you a case clock. And I thought, I think I would have rather had the car.
Then I got there and it was sold. And then literally the antique dealer was like, well, I've taken a deposit from some lady who's waiting for her corn crop to come in. I'm not making this up.
He is not making this up.
And I said, well, call her back. I basically said, what do I have to do to get this clock in my house today? And so he called the lady. She agreed that if I would pay for her 2 lamps and a chandelier that she also had on the order, that I could have the case clock. So we worked out a deal.
I bought somebody in Missouri 2 lamps and a chandelier just so I could get this clock.
Yes, but we do get a lot of compliments because it's a special piece too. So I'm glad we have it.
I'm actually really glad we have it.
This is
It's
made
actually
of Pecky cypress, and I just basically I had wonderful trim carpenters for this house on the first phase. Well, there was the same ones. I hired the same ones for the second phase, and this bookcase was here, but it was just white and standard trim. So I had them pull the face of it off, and they milled all this here on site. They made this little back band. They routed all this edging and put the facade on. They made the doors. So they really did. I just basically gave them a picture of something that had this same silhouette, and they did it. It's pretty spectacular.
And then
I painted the inside dark green, so it would just sort of recede.
The cypress gets the wormy holes from mold, I believe it is.
It's like a bacteria that the wood gets.
Grows in the wood, and that's what creates sort of that gnarling and holy texture that's in it.
So now we're going to take you to the conservatory, which is right off the kitchen. Well, in terms of renovations, yes, we have had 2 major projects in this house in the 7 years that we've lived here. When we were looking at a house to buy in Nashville, we had seen this house, and Ruth Ann immediately said no. She hated it because the kitchen was separate from the rest of the living spaces. And so we dropped it. We moved on. We didn't do anything at that time. But then right after that, I had a client, and she wanted to add a rear staircase in her house. So we were walking through with the builder, and I'm like, well, how big a deal is that? And he's like, oh, it's easy. It's really easy. Staircases aren't really supportive of anything other than themselves. So they don't. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. I just looked at a house, and there was a staircase separating the kitchen from the den. Would that be a big deal? And he's like, no problem at all. So I went back home and asked Ruth Ann if she would consider looking at this house if we opened up the kitchen to the den. So that way it was more open for entertaining. Because we entertain quite a bit. And so traffic flow and hosting and holding a lot of people in the house is important to us and important to her, since she's the one in the kitchen and she doesn't want to be separated from our guests. So we revisited and decided, it was something we wanted to do. So that was sort of the first phase of our remodeling project. That was the biggest part, probably from downstairs, was removing that staircase and opening up those 2 rooms. Then we added a bathroom and closet for our daughter, because all of there were only 2 bathrooms upstairs. All of the bedrooms in this house are upstairs, since it is a traditional house. And so we added a closet and bathroom for her over like a 1-story side entry that was already existing on the house. So that was the first major renovation we did. And then in 2020, that fall of 2020, we added our field room and a conservatory off the kitchen and an outdoor pavilion, and then landscaping. And that was a much bigger project and took 9 months, whereas the first project we did in 3 months. So, of course, a lot of that had to do with COVID, too.
Yes.
And I've named it the conservatory just because there's a lot of natural light and a lot of windows, but it's really a glorified hallway, which is right off of the kitchen and off of our bar area. So this was a necessity we had lived in this house for 4 years, and we had a tiny little impingement that would keep people from traffic, being able to go through from room to room, and it really was difficult for big parties. So this used to be an exterior, a pair of patio doors, and then there was one on the kitchen side as well, and this was a deck before. So we were able to close this in and we actually below us have a potting shed, so it's for plant storage and pots and pans.
Another of my favorite rooms.
Flower pots, excuse me. And so we moved the exterior door to the new exterior.
That was right here, the set of 3 doors that was across here.
To the exterior.
We moved out.
And then I don't love painted brick as a rule, but I felt like...
Oh, I do.
I really wanted to stucco this, but that was another expense, so we didn't do it.
I forgot that was something that we argued over.
Yes. So I picked a different shade of white than the trim, But this is a nice room because it does allow us. We set this up as a bar.
Yeah, we've got a lot on here right now, but this is all can be a dessert buffet. This can be a bar. This sideboard is very functional, and
I don't drink dark liquor, but we keep all of our dark liquor in here for when friends come by. So this actually we do set up sort of as a bar sometimes, or as a dessert bar for entertaining as well. But this really
gives people a place to mill about after they fixed a cocktail or they've gotten up from the kitchen table.
Yes.
So, yes, it's a glorified hallway, but if we want to for larger parties, we put a table here and it gives us another place for people to sit down to dine. So,
and it's
very versatile.
We have a lot of old pieces in here. These are some old French, I call these like king's chairs, and I found them already upholstered in this. This is from a dealer that I buy from in Blowing Rock, North Carolina. This is from a dealer out of Raleigh, North Carolina, who's actually showing at that same shop in Blowing Rock, but I buy a lot from them. And I like this because it's Empire style. I've never seen this before. You see this a lot in mahogany with this this applied column. It looks just like it's a column. It's a shaft of a column here with a little detail at the top and the bottom. This is actually made out of pine. It's been stripped. I love pine because of how sort of simple and approachable it is. So it doesn't feel fussy, but I think it's a really cool piece. You can see like the door, like the base of that column is attached to the door. It's just a cool piece. But this is special to me. This is a client gave this to me as a thank you after a project, a Trumeau mirror. And I love it has a horseman, his dogs.
He's beating
his dog for misbehaving, I guess.
Terrible.
And then we have an assortment of blue and white. And this is a real mixed collection. Some of these are fine. I think most of them are fine, actually.
Some are not.
No, I think they all are.
Are they?
Yeah. Oh. These are not. These are reproduction. But I mix a lot. I mix a lot of things in. So these are cool chairs. These are kind of Victorian for me, but they have mother and pearl inlay in them. And you can see some of this inlay. This is a more distressed chair. There's a nicer mate to it across the doorway. But they have cane seat that's been recaned. And then I love leopard animal print. I put it on everything. I like it when it's color. That's just a hallmark of my work. So anyway, this is just a pretty hallway. We call it the conservatory. It's a beadboard ceiling, and so I painted it a robin's egg blue because in the South, historic homes they paint their ceilings blue. And I wanted to
ask you what color.
I wanted to feel like it was a converted porch.
And it was. Did you mention the lanterns?
It just didn't have a roof before. Well, they're not old.
They're not old, but they had been on the house when this was a porch, and
so
they're good copper lanterns, and so we left them here during the renovation because we liked them for extra light.
Yes. This is a closeout from Visual Comfort from Suzanne Kassler. She did a collection.
It's a sweet size.
It is.
Okay, so this is Eric Ross Interiors where the magic happens, but we are in the terrace level, as some people romantically like to call it, of our home here at Boxwood Hill, aka a basement. And I despise basements, but when we looked at this house, Eric was convinced that this was the space that he wanted for his business. It does have a lot of natural light that comes in from the walkout terrace doors, and so he felt strongly about that, and it has a lot of extra storage space for the business, and we can let you walk through and see that here in a minute, but we completely outfitted the space to suit his business and give us built-ins for all of our sampling throughout the whole space, and it has been a real blessing. We love to work from home. It has been something that we have done now together for 15 years. It gave us a great way to raise our daughter and not have to be at a shop or at a studio, and just provides a wonderful quality of life. Our lovely assistant has vanished when we came down to give the tour. But
I would just interject.
I've always wanted to work and live in the same space because I think it helps clients visualize and the romance of home. And what I'm selling is a lifestyle to people. I'm not just selling furniture and draperies, but I'm selling them how to live. So for them to be able to come to my home, it's much more intimate, it's much more inviting and special than a studio or an office. And so it's something we've always worked from home. My studio has always been in our home, no matter where we've lived in the past 15 years since I started Air Cross Interiors. And it really does help to be able to walk them upstairs and say, well, I have 10-foot ceilings and here's how the chandelier looks, or here's the type of drapery treatment I want to do, and I can show them the quality of it. It's just
right. This is the upholstery line that, is my favorite.
Yes.
And here, sit on this sofa or sit on this chair.
Correct. And it shows them too what my expectation is. Like if it's a new client, like, oh, everyone doesn't live like this. Like this is what we're doing in your house. We're going to pay per every square inch. We're going to have draperies everywhere. We're going to have antique rugs. We're going to have comfortable furniture. So it sets an expectation with the client and sort of helps to educate them. So I think it's very intentional. Yes, it's benefits that our daughter didn't have to go to daycare, but that really wasn't the primary objective. If I'm being honest, it's been very effective in our business.
Right.
The basement was part of our renovation. And basically in the basement, all we did was we took out all the flooring.
Shag carpet.
Yeah, painted all the walls. Again, we went with everything white down here, just again as a neutral ground for decorating other houses. Again, functionality and flexibility. This is what I call my work table, which is skirted, so it has all of my projects in bins and baskets underneath.
Yep.
So you can see, some projects laid out. And then it's also on rollers. So if we're gonna, like when we're looking at Oriental rugs and they're big, I can roll this out of the way. We can move this and set it over by the wall, and I can lay out carpets down here. And so it's really been an effective use of space to have to have all of this. And then years ago when I started, again, this has been my 26th year decorating for a living, and we would do, most of it was books. We had book plans with a lot of these vendors, and that's how they sampled. But as the industry has changed a bit, and this is a very expensive way to sample for the vendors, a lot of them have moved to flat folds. So now we have kind of adjusted and now have baskets, and these are arranged by color, by type of fabric. This is large print greens, large prints warm, large prints cool. I do tend to decorate in certain color schemes, so I only pull fabrics that I'm going to use and sell to clients. Like I would never have a bin of purple because purple is very polarizing. So there's just, I don't have a lot of gray. I just call it cool because I don't do a lot of gray. So that's how the studio, these are all hanging samples. I can get into how we organize this, but my assistant's very organized. So she does keep us ship-shape. This is our conference side, which is where I meet with clients typically. I don't really work with clients in the studio. They don't come in and go through fabrics. That's not part of my process. I sort of pre-select for them, and then I can lay out here or take them to their home. Really, most of my clients I meet with in their homes, but
when they do come for a big presentation.
Right, or big presentation, or if they're building and there's not a place to meet, in an existing home, then we'll meet here in the studio. As you can see, the light is just beautiful. It's really why I bought the house. I loved the studio space and the light because I knew it would be easy to create in here, because in our other home, I literally had a patch of carpet that had good light, and that was it. So I've gotten spoiled with all of this.
Well, and the great part is that it does have a separate entrance off of the terrace, and so we're able to have reps and clients come in through these doors, and it doesn't necessarily interrupt our personal life and gives them their own taste and feel of Air Cross Interiors and Boxwood Hill as they're coming in. And we have, during our second renovation, added the terrace space and worked really hard to try to make that charming and beautiful and give us some place outside that we can enjoy.
Which we can share with you right now.
So this is the terrace of our home and the space where any of our clients, sales reps, guests of Air Cross Interiors would come in. And we wanted to be able to showcase outdoor living as well, because we do sell outdoor furniture, and just wanted to be able to have a good entertaining space for ourselves, but also showcase what Eric can do for an outdoor space, and that he is involved in all aspects of the design of the home. So this cute little space that's tucked away conveniently, as Eric mentioned while we were in the conservatory, is what we refer to as the potting shed. I don't really work so much in the garden per se, but love to pot plants and flowers and that kind of thing. And this gives me a great place to store those things, as well as all of our outdoor cushions that you have to put away in the winter time, and just the clutter and the mess and the dirt that you don't necessarily want to have a shed per se, but this is a cute and happy space that I enjoy using a lot, and is also really practical and functional way of utilizing what was underneath the conservatory.
Yes, and I'll also say this is our third attempt to grow something in these pots.
So there are certain aspects that we fail miserably in our gardening.
We try again. So we've had Confederate jasmine, we've had
clematis,
autumn glory. It's supposed to be.
So now we're going to try roses.
So if you give us any pointers. Now we're in the pavilion, which is a roofed structure that has, Ruth Ann wanted an outdoor fireplace because she loves an outdoor fire when it's cold outside, obviously.
Yes.
But we also wanted a place if it were to rain, or if we wanted to have a dinner outside, and had a roof. So we decided to add this, but we both argued back and forth about it, because I did not want a roof on this structure because I didn't want to see it from the second floor, which is where our main living areas are. So we ended up compromising by doing the lowest pitch roof we could do, and it's a hip roof, so it's not as much square footage, whereas a gable roof would be. So anyway, it's
I love it, and I always love a fire, and so being able to be out here in the wintertime and entertain friends and enjoy the fireplace, having a place to grill that's pretty, and be able to relax and see the lawn and the yard. We were able to host our daughter's graduation party from high school out here, and had tables set up in the lawn, and had a beautiful picnic.
And
Jumpy Castle out in the lawn. So, we have grand visions, and think, maybe someday we'll have a wedding tent out there. So it just has been a good
stress of an outdoor wedding. So
he says no outdoor wedding, but I think this is the perfect place to have a bar and dancing. So
this is a quintessential design that I do on every outdoor fireplace for a project, is a lantern with the yoke and the hook underneath in gas, because I hate mantles outside because they get filthy dirty, and people put things on them, and then those things get filthy dirty. So the only thing that gets dirty here is the glass.
And he chose the one lantern in the house that I did not Windex.
But I think it's super effective as a decorative item, because it's not anything you have to clean. Because if people expect your outdoor lights to kind of, have patina.
Yes, that one definitely does.
I would say home to me is family. Home is hospitality. And when I invite somebody to dine at my kitchen table, I am trying to show them that I love them. I'm trying to tell them that I care about them. And so Eric and I invite people into our home regularly, because we want to show the people that we love and care about an expression of that caring. A gift is how I view it. And I don't think people do that often enough. And I think that one of our core beliefs for both of us is that home should be a haven and make people feel safe. And so I think that even though Eric is a designer and our home is beautiful, everyone that comes in says, "Oh, your home is so lovely. Oh, it's so beautiful." But I also hear people say, "It's so warm. It's so welcoming."
Home to me really just means safety, a safe place to rest. The world is so noisy and busy and everything's changing all the time. It's sort of a place of certainty, and so that's really probably my affinity for antiques and for historic things, is that it's like time tested. And so, you know, one thing that I really look for in home is everything to have a place, and every place has a thing, or I don't know, everything has a place. I like order, and I want things to feel like they belong there. Like, oh, of course you would have these chairs here. They're perfect. And so really that's my sense of safety and comfort's a big thing, and welcome. I think as a Southerner, we immediately want guests who come in to feel like it's easy to be there and that we're glad to have it, that they're not in the way and they're not worried about wiping their feet on one of our carpets or anything like that. So, you know, that's really the crux of home to me, is welcome and safety and comfort.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Laura.
And I'm Todd Allen.
Welcome to our first home here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Come on in.
Welcome to our newest Homeworthy series called Our First Home, where we meet young lovebirds who are building their first nest together.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
These couples have both charming love stories and lovely homes.
It just feels great to be not only building a home, but building a life together.
So prepare to be swept off your feet by these incredible pairs and the places they call home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Laura.
And I'm Todd Allen. Welcome to our first home in Atlanta, Georgia.
We're excited to show you around.
We are currently in the Meadowbrook neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia, and we're in our 1957 brick ranch house that we bought about a year ago.
So besides falling in love with the house itself, we also fell in love with the Meadowbrook neighborhood. It's a lot of young families and adorable ranch-style houses, but it's also known for its amazing social events. So people go all out here for Halloween. Some people turn their houses into haunted houses. We have a little Halloween parade for all the little kids. There's also a spring masters party and an amazing holiday party. So if you know us, you know this is the perfect neighborhood for us because we love that kind of thing. So we've been together 11 years now. And it's kind of funny how we met. We met the first day of freshman year orientation at Washington and Lee University. So thinking back on it, it's a little bit cringeworthy because another girl on my freshman dorm hall and I went around the entire dorm and we introduced ourselves to everybody, which is a little embarrassing, but Todd Allen was one of those people. He just kind of looked like the type of guy that you want to be friends with, and we did become fast friends.
Later on, we had our first class together that first term, and we were going around the room, and you had to introduce yourself with your name and where you're from, but also your favorite food. And Laura's answer was catfish and hush puppies. And I was like, okay, that girl's from my part of the world. We've got to get to know each other.
Welcome to our living room. So when you step through our front door, this is the area that you see, and we kind of first fell in love with the vintage parquet flooring that's original to the house in here, as well as the exposed wooden beams.
Yeah, and we've put a lot of antiques and things from grandparents and family members in here.
Yeah, my very favorite antique in the house is this sideboard, which is a mahogany inlaid serpentine sideboard from my grandparents on my dad's side. And I always remember them using this when I was a little girl at their house in Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. And they called their house the Greenhouse, and they were constantly entertaining at that house because my grandpa was a 2-star general in the U.S. Army, and my grandma was just the best hostess in the world, so she could throw a party for 100 people at the drop of a hat. So something really cool about this piece is there's an original letter inside from the guy that they bought it from, and it actually tells the history of the piece. So it says that it was his aunt's sideboard, and they bought it from her at her estate sale in Scotland. And it even says that before it was hers, it was this guy's grandfather's, and he had it at a big hunting and farming estate out in Scotland too, until he died in 1877. So we know that this piece is, you know, a minimum of 150 years old, but probably closer to 200 or more. So it's really neat that we're still using it here today, and hopefully can continue passing it down to generations. So the sideboard my grandparents always used for making cocktails or having hot food out for guests, but we're using it a little bit differently now with a lot of our favorite wedding photos. 2 of these up here are actually from our rehearsal dinner night, and they kind of showcase the beautiful fall foliage from our wedding. It actually ended up being peak leaves that day, and we framed them in 2 Ralph Lauren leather frames to kind of tie in that equestrian theme that we're going for in the cozy living room space. And next to them are my favorite taper candle holders in the house, because you'll quickly learn that I have taper candles everywhere. But these I found at an antique store here in Atlanta, West Side Market, and they kind of allude to that equestrian theme as well. So the idea for our living room was a really cozy, sort of Ralph Lauren inspired den area where we could showcase all the most special pieces to us. Items from our love story, which you'll see the built-ins that Todd Allen's going to talk about in a second, are just filled with trinkets that we've picked up on trips together or passed down from generations of grandparents. And the built-ins were already here when we purchased this house originally, but they were all white, and we knew we wanted to add a little bit more dimension. So we added some green grass cloth to give it another pop of color.
And in this room, we really, spend a lot of time, either watching TV or hanging out. We do spend a lot of time outside on the porch, but at night or, when it's cold or hot, we're in here all the time. We gather in here with friends, and our kind of layout works well that, this can be kind of a sitting room even when people are kind of eating or making another drink in the kitchen. So in the bookcases here, we've got a couple of kind of vignettes of different kind of things, either from the wedding or from school. We'll start at the top left. This one is kind of dedicated to our wedding. So there's a needle-pointed ornament that my sister needle-pointed for us when we got married, and it's got our venue. On the right side, there's an engraved wine bottle that got our venue on there as well as the date. And this was a gift that we gave to our parents as kind of a thank you for setting up the weekend. On the left is a painted wine bottle from one of Laura's good friends, Molly Young, who's got a shop in Cape Girardeau, and we spend a lot of time in there. Definitely have to make it back every time we go. And then the 2 champagne flutes are our tasting flutes from the cake cutting. And then one of my favorite things that Laura does is these little corks. And so each special event, there's one from this house, there's one from our wedding, and a couple of other special things. So we're going to continue building out that collection, I'm sure. And then, this one here is from school. We've got my varsity letter from playing on the golf team there, as well as 2 pictures of the chapel and the colonnade. And actually between those 2 spaces is where I proposed. So a special place on campus for everyone, but definitely special for the 2 of us. And then we also have some stamps. Laura's grandfather is a big stamp collector, so at her graduation, he gave her 2 W&L stamps. These 2 spaces here are probably the most important for this room in particular, and maybe throughout the whole house. The first one being the Ralph Lauren kind of cubby. Laura's favorite designer or someone she takes a lot of inspiration from is Ralph Lauren, and then you'll also see the martini bear in the tuxedo everywhere. These plates are actually a gift from Laura's parents for my birthday one year. And we've kind of continued that motif. You'll see him, the Ralph in his tuxedo and with a martini throughout the house. It's kind of a fun little character that we continue through. And then kind of the Western influences from the house that you'll see predominantly on the porch. Laura and I took a trip to Marfa, Texas, in New Year's, right after COVID, so kind of 2020 to 2021, and had a really awesome time. We got to see Prada Marfa, which is an art installation and something that had always been on Laura's bucket list, and some other really cool things. But it's just a really great way to unplug and kind of step away from the crazy world that was. And so we've got a lot of kind of things and trinkets from that time.
So this is the first piece of art that Todd Allen and I ever purchased together, and it kind of set us on the spiral of buying art, gave us the bug, if you will. But this painting is of our very favorite place in the world to travel, which is Charleston, South Carolina. We go a lot, and we just love how relaxing, the low country scene is here of a marsh and some Spanish moss. But we actually were back in Charleston a couple weeks ago for a wedding and went into the gallery where we found this. And the artist was in there dropping off art, so we even got to meet her. Her name is Jill McGannon, and we just love her work.
When we walked into this house, we were really kind of impressed by how much our stuff fit in the house, and how there were a few identifiable projects that needed to be done, but for the most part, it was move-in ready. So, from even the decorations that they had on, on the walls, we were like, oh, our stuff matches that, or would go, right there. And so, for the most part, the touch-ups in this house have been kind of changing hardware, paint, some wallpaper, and buying some new furniture. But for the most part, the house has been fairly, as we found it.
Yeah, and I think we really fell in love first and foremost with all the exposed wooden beams that are original to the house, and also the parquet flooring, because it kind of has that antique vintage look and it makes it feel really cozy. And we knew that that would kind of go with all the antiques that we have passed down from family that we have in this space that have stories behind them. So now I'm going to take you into the dining room. Please follow me. Welcome to our dining room, and here we have the same wooden exposed beams that you'll see carried throughout the house, and they're original to this house. So we wanted to play off of that and go with some warm colors in here and kind of that sporting South theme, given that Todd Allen's a big duck hunter, and we also just love the motifs of ducks and pheasants and turkey and things like that. So this table was from my grandparents on my mom's side. They actually bought it for a Kentucky lake house, and we've gotten it since then and kind of decorated it with some china from our wedding. So this is the Spode woodland pattern here, which a lot of people just tend to use at Thanksgiving, but we use it year round. And one of my favorite things to do is to kind of mix and match all different sets of china, a little bit finer china, and then sometimes with some everyday or more inexpensive pieces. So with it, I've just paired a charger that is hammered copper. This is just from Williams-Sonoma, and then some fun little pheasant feather placemats here that I found at a gift shop. These crystal glasses are actually from my parents' wedding back in the day. These are Waterford crystal from their registry. And then this set of silverware is from my other grandma, a beautiful Rosenthal pattern that she had. And you'll even notice back here, this china cabinet houses a mix and match of different things too. So we have some china from both grandmas, some china from our wedding registry, and we kind of went with golds and autumn colors in here, which if you know us, you know we love fall anyway. And the floor in the dining room is the original terracotta tile, which I feel like you either love it or you hate it. But knowing that we had a lot of vintage pieces already, we kind of leaned into the vibe for now and figured, if we get tired of it, we could always renovate the kitchen in a couple years. We love to host friends and family here all the time. We've kind of been known now as the party throwers in the past year since we moved into this house. Not only because of this dining space, but we have a screened-in porch that we'll show you later that kind of flows from the living room into the dining room out to the porch, so that's even become almost a family room for us. But we just love using all of our pieces that have been passed down and also items from our wedding, and I've gotten into, making floral arrangements and have taper candles everywhere. So we're really loving hosting and entertaining here. So this piece right here is something that has been great for, storing all kinds of different hostess materials. And it's interesting because it will fool the eye. It looks like a chest of drawers, but in reality, it's one big piece that flaps up. So it's great for storing, those bigger platters and trays and things. And it's funny, my parents actually had this piece in their first home, and they used it for our TV back in the early 90s. So it's kind of funny. Obviously, TVs have gotten bigger since then. So now we use it for hosting materials. But the piece right above it just looks like, it fits in perfectly with this vibe of fall leaves and ducks. But this was another thing that was in my parents' first home. And it just kind of made its way to us graciously from my mom and just fits our vibe perfectly. And then I'll mention on top of the piece, this pheasant plate is significant because this is the Mataheta China pattern that was on our head table at our wedding. And this little art sculpture of fall leaves is to commemorate the beautiful fall day of peak foliage we had on our wedding day. These candlesticks are from my great-grandmother, who actually lived to be 101 years old. So I got to know her when I was a little girl and spend lots of time with her, and she was a lover of all things silver and china and antiques, so I think I got that from her, but happy to have many of her silver pieces throughout the house, and I just kind of keep out my favorite ones at any given time. And then this is a silver piece that I picked up myself from Atlanta's first Marburger Antique Show, which if you're familiar with antiques, then you've probably heard of the Marburger Show down in Round Top, Texas, but glad that we're getting that in Atlanta now too. So one of the things that we've tried to do in this house is work with what the previous owners had already done or what was original to the house, just to save a little bit of budget in this first year, knowing that we kind of put budget towards furnishings in this first part rather than full renovations. So the floor is an original terracotta tile floor, which is pretty interesting for this, 50s ranch house in Atlanta. It gives a little bit more of a Spanish revivalist look. But we happen to have this Serena and Lily rug already in our rental house. And we just love that it pulled in that rust or terracotta color exactly. So we put that down in the dining room. And it also matched a tablecloth we had with a subtle pheasant motif as well. So it seemed like it was all just kind of meant to be together. And then the chandelier here was not original to the house. Previously, there was like a larger, bulky dome light here, but we wanted to create a little more air through the space, I guess, if you will, so you could see over to, the antique break front and see more of the room and lighten it up a little bit. So we added a Curry & Company Bunny Williams collection chandelier, and this has a little bit of a pheasant feather pattern as well, tying everything together. Finally, in this space, I'll mention this Federalist style plant stand from the 1800s. This is something that my mom got at one of our cousins' estate sales, but you'll notice we have a couple of these throughout the house, and we use them not only for fresh flowers, but we'll change them out with things like pheasant feathers, and we also use them for lamps a lot of times because some of the rooms in this house don't have overhead lighting, so we use a lot of sources of light, including lamps everywhere.
Here is our kitchen on the backside of the dining room, and it's certainly a working man's kitchen. We spend a lot of time here, and it was one of the spaces that we knew might need to be updated at some point, but certainly fit what we needed it to do during the first couple of years that we lived here. The first thing we did was to update the cabinet hardware. Which was an easy, maybe took us an hour to do, but I really think it refreshes the space, ties in the copper accents that we love and, have in our pans and other things. And, that was a quick one here. And then another thing that we've done here as a kind of solve is our kind of pan rack here. We had kind of this dead space, and we were able to fill it with this rack here, and we've actually placed the plate from the Inn at Little Washington, which is a place near our previous residence in DC. And so this was kind of a farewell to DC, but in the Inn at Little Washington, there's a big bay window with their kitchen, and they've got all of their pots hanging, and their copper pots hanging. And so we were like, hey, we should, incorporate that with our 5 pots here. And so, that is kind of an homage to that, but kind of where we drew inspiration from to solve a dead space within the kitchen. And then another solve that we've had, at one point, Laura and I came to each other and I was like, you have got to stop buying plates. We have enough plates. And they say all the time that if you want to start a collection, tell your friends. So one of Laura's good friends brought over a piece of cabbageware. And so that led us to buy the whole set. Now, since we don't have a hood over our range, it would be difficult or could get dirty to have kind of the open cooking above, fabric window treatment above. So Laura had the idea to put up this cabbageware that she loves on the wall and kind of do a creative solve. So these, we can actually just pop them off, throw them in the dishwasher and throw them back up there. So there's no kind of problems there. Another thing that we love in this kitchen is the butcher block island that we're standing at right here. It gives us a lot of storage for kind of our larger pots and pans. We do a lot of prep work and kind of cooking on this particular space. And obviously it's almost bulletproof being butcher block. And we have a bowl here from my grandmother. The artist's name is James Hayes, and he does custom blown glass. And he was actually a classmate of my parents at Pine Bluff High School. So my grandmother is a huge fan of his work and has given us this as a wedding present. And then also the last couple Christmases, we've gotten a little hand-blown Christmas tree from James Hayes.
Now we're going to lead you to our Atlanta themed powder room. Please follow us. So here we are in our Atlanta themed powder room, definitely the smallest room in the house. But when we purchased this home, this bathroom was originally hot pink. And it was cute, but we knew that that wasn't exactly fitting with our kind of Ralph Lauren Sporting South inspired home. And it just so happened that the brand Katie Kime that I followed for a long time, she does different toiles of different cities around the US. And she came out with her Atlanta themed toile the week that we were moving in here. So in that moment, I knew that that was the wallpaper we were going to use in here. And it has all different iconic Atlanta monuments on it. Everything from, the airport, the biggest airport in the US, to the Fox Theater, where Todd Allen and I love to go see shows. One of our favorite restaurants is represented here, Mary Mac's Tea Room, with the best soul food in town. And then a lot of little magnolia and peach motifs, which you'll see I've brought in again right here. This was actually an extreme save versus splurge. This was a $10 vintage peach framed piece of art here that we got from Facebook Marketplace. And these little hand towels are handmade linen magnolia hand towels that we got at our very favorite place to stay in Charleston, South Carolina at the Dewberry Hotel. And then we've kind of paired the wallpaper and color matched it with a really fun custom shower curtain here from the Well Appointed House, one of my favorite little spots online to get items, and continued to work with, what they had existing in this house. So we kept all the hardware, even though I'm typically a gold girl. They had silver in here, and we kind of just worked with that and added in some fun silver elements that were more personal to us, like the magnolia hand towels with a little, silver hand towel holder, and then a little silver trash can from Vietri, and added in some fun Wheezy towels, which I always love in a bathroom. So when we originally saw kind of the existing hot pink bathroom that was here, we knew that pink didn't necessarily fit with the kind of moody vibe we were going for with the dark greens and blues and wood and leather throughout the house, but we still wanted to kind of go with something fun and bold and kind of pay homage to our new city here in Atlanta, since we spent 5 years in DC prior to this. So this was a fun way to welcome Atlanta into our home, and it also kind of set us down a spiral of doing a lot of wallpapering throughout the house, which you'll continue to see. I would describe our interior design style as Southern, traditional, timeless, also a little bit Ralph Lauren inspired. So we love to use leather and brass, wool, different patterns like tartans. And we just love a cozy feel. With all the antiques that we have passed down from family, it also feels a bit collected and definitely layered because we like to use a lot of different patterns and textures, everything from velvet to those, plaids and things that kind of allude to Ralph Lauren.
And I would say as far as our love of antiques, it really reminds us of the family members that maybe we got them from or that have given it to us. It's also been a fun hobby to pick up over the last couple of years, to, especially here in Atlanta, go to all the different places together and spend weekends together, finding pieces that we love, and then we also bring things back from traveling. It's one of our favorite things to do, and it's cool to bring little pieces of those trips back.
I would also say the house is a little bit Sporting South inspired. So kind of what you would see or imagine when you think of like Garden and Gun magazine. Todd Allen is a big duck hunter and an outdoorsman, and so are many members of our family. So you'll see some motifs of ducks and pheasants and turkey and things like that throughout the home.
Next, we'd love to show you both of our offices, so follow us this way. Welcome to my office. It's one of my favorite rooms in the house, and I think one of my favorite parts about this, and maybe the house in general, is Laura's ability to design and create spaces that are both, masculine and feminine. I feel like our house feels like our house and not just a house where I get to live, that Laura's designed. So this is definitely kind of a super masculine room. I love working in here and kind of showing off a few of my golf items and continuing also on that Sporting South motif. One of the inspirations of this room is from one of Laura's favorite influencers, Anna Page. And so you'll see the equestrian plaid wallpaper that she utilized in her nursery for her son. I'm a big kid anyway, so this is the right kind of stuff for me. And then also kind of some vintage pieces of kind of the old school office. Laura calls it the grandfather's smoking lounge type feeling in here. So one of the solves in this room, it's kind of a smaller room, and we knew we wanted a big kind of partner's desk, old school with a leather top, but I also, love to use my standing desk, and I think these monitors are ugly on one of these desks. So kind of hiding this one away in the back, allows me to continue with the functionality of using the standing desk. But then also we have a piece, kind of a smaller regular desk that I know Laura always jokes and says this is where I do my correspondence. In here, we also have kind of my collection of golf memorabilia. I know I mentioned I played on the golf team at Washington and Lee and have a lot of kind of things from those tournaments and my older clubs, but also have this flag collection. And so any time that I would go into a new golf course, I'd pick up one of the flags. And so these are a couple of my favorites. Obviously, if you are in Georgia, you've got to have your Masters flag. This was from the first time we went to the Masters. And then also you've got to have a Sea Island flag. So those two were going up here regardless. And then the third one we chose was from Kiowa Island, which is just outside of Charleston, South Carolina. So again, one of our favorite places to travel. So one of the, I guess, more noticeable pieces or something that stands out as soon as you walk in is this Ralph Lauren chandelier. Definitely one of the biggest splurges in this room in particular. But it really accents the room, provides a lot of light, and kind of if you look from my standing desk backwards, it's actually is super good lighting for my Zoom background. So I'm kind of got light above me, and then some cool memorabilia behind. Another one of my favorite things in this room in particular is this cooler that Laura painted for me when we first started dating. So, a lot of, SEC schools or larger kind of schools, they'll have, for different formals, the girls will paint a cooler. And I always wanted one, but that wasn't really a W&L thing. So one summer, Laura took, wanted to take up a little hobby and made this cooler in particular for me. And it's one of my favorite things. So it's traveled with me for years and years. So there's a few chips on it, but, it's got a lot of my interest, obviously golf and, Arkansas and a handful of other things, but it's just a really cool personality piece for me. Here in this corner, you have a couple there's a couple antique chests in here from Laura's grandparents, and it's really cool to repurpose that. Gives me a lot of storage in, a smaller room, so I'm able to fit a bunch of, supplies or files or whatever needs to be in there, and so this has been great. We've got a couple of cool items, obviously another martini bear, and then a book from the Golfer's Journal, which is one of my favorite publications for kind of golf and cool personal interest stories from the golf space. This picture here is from the signature holes of my home golf course that I grew up on in Little Rock, Arkansas. So it's called Pleasant Valley Country Club, and the signature holes are 16, 17, and 18, and they call them Around the Lake. So this is a cool little kind of piece of home that I get to kind of look at during the day. And then back here is actually a cool oil painting that Laura picked up after one of the designer showcases in Atlanta. And so kind of after the designers were done, you can often get a pretty good deal on some of the kind of original pieces. So that was definitely a really cool opportunity to get another original piece in here. And then up top there is a ship from Mary McGuire, who is a kind of renowned artist around here. And she's actually known for her ships. So we've got a tiny little ship kind of playing on the naval theme in here and then elsewhere in the house.
Now I'm going to take you to my home office space. Follow me. So now welcome to my home office space, which is a little bit of a different vibe than Todd Allen's Ralph Lauren space. This is a lighter, brighter, more feminine area, and I kind of let myself really lean into all the things I love in this room, knowing that it is my space. The room originally when we bought the house was a light pink again, because they had used it as a nursery. But knowing that we both have had a lot of remote work since we've moved here a year ago, we kind of needed our own office spaces. And then as we continue to evolve in this house over the next 10 years or so, we've thought that we could pretty easily transition this space back to a nursery at some point. And so you'll kind of see that some of the elements I've designed in here, I've thought through, like I love them for my office, but they could also work in a future nursery. So the wall color is Old White by Farrow and Ball, and that was inspired by actually this rug, which was the first piece we had in here. This was from our rental house, and it's a Serena and Lily rug that we brought over to this house that we purchased. And I just loved the powder blue in it and knew I wanted to kind of go English garden vibes in here and then add in some bows and hearts and things that kind of gave it that Love Shack fancy aesthetic almost. So I color matched the wall color to the rug and then played with more of those powder blues and added in a bunch of different patterns in here. So I've always loved the Colfax and Fowler bowwood pattern with the roses. And when I saw that there was a blue and gray colorway, I knew that's what we had to lead with. Oftentimes you'll see like a statement wall with wallpaper or the full room wallpapered, but I wanted to try something a little bit different because I did like the paint color in here that we put in. So I decided to go with a pop on the closet door over here, which, you probably don't often see. I don't know that I had ever seen it before, but it was just a white door and it was a little bit boring and I wanted to spice it up. So I added the bowwood wallpaper here. and then brought that through into the custom drapes right here with the blue linen and the bowwood tape, which the acquired home in Buckhead here helped me with this, and they were wonderful to work with. Had a little bit of fun with other patterns as well that kind of mixed with the blue and white and gray theme. So I recovered a couple of antique Chippendale chairs from my grandparents in a Schumacher gingham fabric in the sky blue. So I have a couple of those in here. And then continued with the bowwood accents throughout a trash can that I found on Etsy. This lady on Etsy just does these amazing trash cans with different wallpaper samples. And then even found the bowwood on some little notebooks from Amazon. So just finding that everywhere and splurge and save items. These shelves were another example of something I repurposed from what the previous owners already had. So they had these shelves in a different room, but they kind of went with this vibe. So we hung them here and did some of my favorite wedding photos, as well as some mother of pearl opera glasses that my great grandma had, and she used to go to the opera with her daughter, my grandma, over in Florence, Italy all the time. That was their very favorite place to travel together. So that's kind of a nice little memory of them. And then this glassware we got for our wedding, this was from one of our best family friends growing up. Her name's Lisa, and her parents actually got these for their wedding present back in 1962. So it's just special to have so many different people's stories throughout our house. And, you know, I just thought the color worked perfectly in here. In this china cabinet, we have my grandma on my dad's side, very favorite pattern of Meissen porcelain, and she actually got this at the original Meissen factory over in Dresden, Germany. So I just love that it kind of keeps with that floral, kind of English garden vibe in here, but adds in a little bit more color, and just love to use it around, you know, Easter and spring on a tablescape, but also display it all year round. The desk here is a newer piece. This is a Serena and Lily desk, and then I paired it with a Society Social chair. And the little chandelier here is from Visual Comfort. There was originally just an old ceiling fan there, so that's an example of a small, you know, touch or tiny reno or project of sorts that wasn't too high stakes, but we could just add a lot of character by adding in a new light fixture. And then this chest here was from Huff Harrington Home here in Atlanta, which is one of our favorite furniture stores here. And it's a French antique. And I just loved the little detail here of the bow right around the key, because it matched this mirror that I had from the Carver's Guild and just went so well together. And this is, you know, something I could see in a future nursery one day that we could repurpose. You probably noticed in the living room that I had some chinoiserie pieces in there throughout the built-ins and by the sideboard. So I am a chinoiserie lover, and this set of ginger jars here is actually from our kind of everyday dishware set that we have from Jaliska, the Country Estate pattern. And I love that pattern because it is dishwasher and microwave safe, but it's also beautiful, and they have some home decor elements. So not only is it used throughout our kitchen, but also in my office. So this right here is an antique silver service that's been passed down through a couple generations in my family. So excited to pass it down one day to another generation, but it even has my great-great-grandma's monogram on it still. And it's sitting atop a little bridge or game table, which is significant because my grandparents all love to play bridge. And this is also some of my grandma's linens, which when I first got them, I thought I'd never use them, but I use them all the time for hosting showers and things here in our new house. And above it, this is another kind of save versus splurge. This is from an Instagram artist, these intaglios. Her name is Allie Smith, and she goes by Allie Smith Art on Instagram. And I love how she uses wallpaper as the mat for these intaglios. It's really subtle, but she has all different ones, and this is kind of a powder blue herringbone wallpaper she has back here. So one thing we've learned as new homeowners is that there's always another project to be done. So even if a room may look complete, I've gotten really into the interior design side of things and kind of started a spreadsheet with all my wild ideas. And Todd Allen's been great about kind of bringing me back down to earth on some of those, if some might not be a great investment or not super practical. But for the most part, he's been a great sport about it. And so, we have some ideas in the works of putting together a guest room. So you won't see that today, but that's something we're gonna work on in the next year. And then likely renovating the kitchen, because it is, the original kitchen to the house right now, which we love the vintage feel of, but we may update that in the future. And then I would also say, yeah, we plan to live here hopefully around 10 years or so. So we plan to welcome hopefully our first child into this home at some point in the future, maybe a second child. So we can see how maybe a home office space could be, changed or transitioned into a nursery at some point. Welcome to our mudroom, which is also very much a multi-purpose space for us, because not only does it come in from the carport, but it's also a bourbon bar, a laundry room, a storage room of sorts, and a coffee nook. So this is a little bit of everything, but it starts the new addition to our house, which we did not add on, but the previous owners built it almost right before they sold the house. So it feels a little fresher and newer, and we've kind of played into that with our design aesthetic on this side of the house. We have kind of more of a light, bright, airy, and coastal feel, I would say. So more of that kind of Serena and Lily, or some elements we like from the beach. So starting with this wall right here, I've started another collection, and Todd Allen always gives me, he gives me a hard time about all the plates that I like hanging on walls. And this is no exception, but these I think are very cool. I just love how vintage oyster plates are all painted differently, and they're quite unique. And so every time we travel somewhere in the Southeast that has a connection to oysters, I pick up a new oyster plate. So a couple of my favorites so far, this middle one from Charleston, South Carolina, which is our favorite place to travel. The one on top is perhaps the oldest antique of the bunch, and that's from New Orleans on a cousin's New Year's trip. And then I also love this one right here because it has a totally different feel, more of a mountain feel. And this is from the Cashers, North Carolina area, a couple hours from Atlanta. And my cousins have a cool little mountain cabin there, so that represents that.
So one of our kind of more fun areas in this particular space is our bourbon bar. And I've got a small collection of bourbon, but it's something that's been really fun to collect and share with friends. And so I always say that there's not a bottle up here that's off limits, or that, if somebody comes over, they can't pull off the shelf and drink. That is, other than this one. And so this kind of old, dirty bottle of Blanton's was actually kind of a wedding item that we did. There's an old kind of wives' tale in the South that if you bury a bottle of bourbon at your wedding venue a month before you get married, that means that you'll have good weather. And I can't speak for everyone that's done it, but it certainly worked for us. It was supposed to rain, and the rain held off, and we had a bright sunny day with a perfect fall foliage. The leaves turned just in time, and so it was really great. So we take a drink from this one on our anniversary, and we've also kind of paired it with a photo of us kind of digging up the bourbon on our wedding day. Another portion from our wedding was this bathrobes and bow ties event. So I know we mentioned that we got married at one of our, where we had fraternity formal every year. So it was kind of a cool thing for our guests to be, many of them had attended that formal or had been with us during college. So it was cool to kind of go back to that place. And one of our college traditions was, before we went down to the big formal in our fancy, tuxes and long dresses and stuff like that, we had a little kind of pre-party where we had just the bathrobes that were, sponsored by the hotel, and then we threw on the bow ties. So we thought we'd carry that tradition forward, and that was our welcome party the night before our wedding.
So our housewarming party when we bought this house was cowboy caviar themed, which was very kind of high-low, as we like to do in a lot of things in our life. So we served everything from queso and margaritas to a little bit of caviar and Veuve champagne. And like I said, our neighborhood's very social to begin with, so theme parties are always welcome around here. Something else funny is that this storage is actually used for about 80 wine glasses, because we put 2 different patterns of wine glasses on our wedding registry, thinking we would get more of one or the other and then could return the other set. But I guess all of our guests love to drink wine, and so we ended up getting all of them, and we just said, you know what, I guess this mudroom / bourbon bar / laundry room is just gonna also house 80 wine glasses. So that has also really come in handy for hosting in this new home. Now I'm gonna invite you into the little nook that leads into our primary bedroom. Follow me. So one of the things that helped us know that this was the house for us was actually this little nook, which the previous owners had already covered in this Serena and Lily sunflower wallpaper. And this was significant to us for 2 reasons. The first being because, you know, you've seen we have a lot of Serena and Lily elements, and especially in our bedroom, we were going for more of that coastal, light, bright, airy feel. And so we knew that our existing furniture would pair really nicely with this. But also because sunflowers are significant, they are associated with good memories for me with my dad. He unfortunately passed away right after our wedding from cancer, but he was a big farmer in southeast Missouri, and he would have an annual dove hunt every year over Labor Day weekend that all kinds of friends and family would come in for. And he would plant this big sunflower field to attract the doves and also just for beauty. And so it was crazy. Last Labor Day weekend, Todd Allen and I walked into Greg Irby Gallery in Atlanta, and we came across this amazing painting of a farm scene with a sunflower field by Elaine Burge. And so we just knew it was meant to be for this little sunflower nook. And we put it right here, and we love that it adds a pop of color as well. Surrounding the painting, we thought it would be kind of nice, a nice memory of him to put some elements that incorporated the crops that he grew. So we have these vintage Venetian wheat candle sconces here. And on the little wall right here, we also have a vintage soybean print because he predominantly grew soybeans, which is also nice because it covers up a little converter box that's ugly. So there's a hack there as well, in addition to being sentimental. And then above the painting, I framed one of the Wagner Farms license plates that were on all of my dad's pickup trucks that he used at the farm. And I've done the same thing for my brother as a gift, and then I have one on my car as well. But it's framed in burled wood, which is another element you'll kind of see throughout the whole primary suite. And the little rattan scalloped console right here is another kind of natural element. We love using rattan throughout the primary suite, and I know you saw that with my office desk as well. This is from the acquired home here in Buckhead, which is a shop I love, and it kind of houses some significant photos of me with my dad on our wedding day, me as a little kid with my dad, one of his hats, and then there's even a photo of Todd Allen at the farm when he was little, because his grandpa was also a farmer. So we both have really good memories with farms, and you know, even Todd Allen would get on the combine all the time with his grandfather. So this is our little farm sunflower nook that leads us into our bedroom.
On this wall, kind of adjacent to that little nook with the sunflowers, you also have kind of some photos from our engagement and the proposal. So the funny story there is that I knew I wanted to propose on campus at Washington and Lee, and I didn't know how I was going to get Laura to there with it being a surprise. She wanted it to be a surprise, and so I fabricated this alumni golf video. And I sent an email to my coaches and said, hey, can you just copy and paste this in a new email, send it to me, and saying that I need to be on campus for an alumni video. And they did. And, you know, my coach is, you know, not one of those that is, you know, kind of pulling off gags or pranks or anything like that very often. So I think that really kind of convinced Laura that it actually was a surprise. So it was really cool. We got down there, and I had actually kind of, in working through the proposal speech, had kind of written down on some note cards what I wanted to say. And so don't worry, I did not use the note cards kind of in the speech, but I kept them and I gave them to Laura afterwards, and she wanted to frame them. So you'll see some black and white photographs of our proposal. And then also, we kind of paired that with this gallery wall of our engagement shoot at the Inn at Little Washington, just outside of DC. As far as buying your first home, I think my main bit of advice is to have a good team around you. I think we certainly had a great realtor, great lender, and the ability to ask the questions that you think may be dumb, or I'm sure somebody hasn't asked this before. It's always nice to be able to put yourself at ease. It's a complicated process with a bunch of forms, and I even work in real estate, and there were still things that I didn't know when buying a house. So I'd say definitely have a good team around you. And the second thing that I would say is, it's the real estate 101 is find a location that you love, because you can change anything about the house or the building, but the location's going to stay the same.
Yeah, and I would add to that to just remember to have fun with the process, because I know it can get stressful and overwhelming because it's the first time you're doing it. I kind of thought about it similarly to wedding planning, where there's so many little details to think through and decisions to make, but you have to kind of take a step back and realize this is the only time you're going to buy your very first home together as a couple. Like, you may buy other homes throughout your life, but this is a big milestone, buying your first home, and so you want it to be fun with your partner too. Now we're going to invite you into the primary suite.
Follow us.
So this is our primary suite, and it's a little bit different feel than the rest of the house. We wanted this space to feel super peaceful and kind of be our sanctuary at the end of the day, whereas the rest of the house feels a little bit more moody. And so in here we kept a lighter color on the walls. We didn't really do any wallpaper, which I know is a shock since we've done that in every other room. But we kept like sage greens and light blues. And really the focal point of this room is the big painting over the bed. So this piece over here was commissioned by an Atlanta artist. Her name is Autumn Arissa Davis. And her previous work that we saw just looked very, Serena and Lily-esque. She used these very calming colors. And so we thought she would be perfect to do the piece on this wall, especially since there's taller ceilings in this room than the rest of the house. And we worked with her on a multimedia piece. So it's not only paint, but we also have some fabric and paper samples here for a little bit different texture and some pattern. And then she used some gold flake, which really plays nicely with all the gold accents we like to do in every room throughout the house. And then she framed it in this beautiful burled wood frame, which again, you've seen some burled wood throughout the house and especially in this room. So highly recommend her if you're looking for some Atlanta-based art. So I've picked, the bedding aesthetic, and I love the colors of the bed, but I actually don't make the bed every morning. That is one of the things that Todd Allen does in our household. So I will let him talk about how he likes to make the bed.
I really am a novice, and I have looked up a bunch of YouTube videos on how to make a bed, and I think I've settled on this style in particular. But just kind of throw it up there, and then I guess one of the things is to kind of fold this more than once in order to give it a little bit more volume, since we're both fairly hot-natured, and so there's not a ton of bedding on here. So there's just this one piece and then kind of the sheets. So it's very functional, works for us, and I don't know, it takes me 2 or 3 minutes in the morning to do.
And I will say maybe the only design dispute that we've had so far in this house is that Todd Allen has insisted that we have a ceiling fan in this room, which from my point of view, I'd love to have some kind of chandelier, just knowing it's a little more aesthetic. But, for now we found a more modern looking ceiling fan. Like Todd Allen said, we're kind of hot-natured people, and so we found a more aesthetic looking ceiling fan. Compromise. So this console right here is a piece from CB2 and is a little bit more modern than a lot of the items you may expect in our house with so many antiques, but we like to mix new and old throughout the house. So we love that this brought in that burled wood, and we wanted to place in our bedroom to house some of the, favorite coffee table books and trinkets that we have. So you'll see another chinoiserie lamp from my grandparents, and we've subbed out the shade to a little bit something more modern here from Caitlin Wilson Design down in Dallas. And then we have some of these antique green heron pieces from my great grandma. She was a collector of all types of china and particularly loved green, which is my favorite color now. So again, probably something I got from her. And then this little Beanie Baby is actually a funny story. So I had a great aunt Paula who collected thousands and thousands of Beanie Babies because in her mind she was going to use them to pay for her granddaughter's college fund one day. But sadly, as we know, Beanie Babies weren't quite as rare and valuable as we all thought back in the 90s. So instead we just, are stuck with all these Beanie Babies now. Luckily, we're not actually stuck with them, but we did get one fun one on our wedding day, the Lovebirds Beanie Baby. So that's been kind of a cute way to remember her.
So our frame TV is one of our, one of the great kind of tech hacks in this particular room. The ability to kind of lose the big black square in the room and kind of hide it with faux painting has been, really great. So even though this is a giant TV, it's really nice to be able to, to kind of have something that doesn't really take up too much room. So this is where, one of my favorite spots to watch TV. And we've thrown this kind of old Van Gogh painting on here to kind of mimic some of the colors that are in the room.
This piece right here is another Atlanta-based artist. You'll notice throughout our home we tend to stick with Atlanta and Southern artists, but her name is Renee Bouchon, and she does a ton of beautiful botanicals, and I've always loved her work. So I got it matted with a fun kind of striped mat here to mimic some of the striped paper that was in the Autumn Marissa painting. So continuing to try and tie through different elements throughout the room and tell a story with the design. Right below the painting, this was another kind of storage hack, just since we didn't have any chests per se in here or other closet space directly in this little room. So we have some storage bins for our towels and sheets. And these were very affordable from the Ballard Designs outlet here in Roswell, Georgia. They're the Bunny Williams collection. Next to that, we have a fun little cocktail table that is also kind of a piece of art. It's a big champagne cork, actually made of cork. And then this chair we love to just watch TV in and also read books, but it's topped with the mulberry flying ducks pattern, which we're also planning on adding into our bathroom a little bit as our next project. We're gonna do some fun window treatments in the bathroom. So you saw throughout the rest of the house we have kind of a mix of more splurge drapes versus save drapes. In Todd Allen's office we had just cheap drapes from Amazon that look great. In my office we went more of a custom route. And in our primary bedroom we went semi-custom. So these are from Pepper Home. And since we had such a large window here, we knew we didn't want to go fully custom. We wanted to save a little bit of money there. And so what Pepper Home does is they allow you to choose from their fabric and tape options. In this room, since we're going a little more low-key anyway and more, peaceful, we didn't want a big pattern or anything. So we chose the sage color paired with this little blue velvet trim. And what Pepper does is they can create the drapes and ship them out within 10 business days, which is amazing and so fast for drapes. So I would highly recommend them. And they also have a really great drape measurement calculator on their website. So if you have windows that are not the standard sizes like ours in this room, it was really easy to figure out what size to order, which I know can oftentimes be a design challenge.
Awesome. So welcome into our primary bathroom. It's really kind of an escape and a great place to get ready in the morning. We've got kind of a continuation of the color scheme from the primary coming on in here. You've got these awesome lampshades that Laura got from CL Home. You've got a continuation of the burled wood on the sink and the soap dispensers. And then, no Laura McDonald bathroom would be complete without some Wheezy towels. And then you've also got this piece here where we keep kind of our colognes and perfumes. And this was actually a gift from our realtor and kind of a cool way to utilize some more kind of a silver tray. And then the funny story on these mirrors was they weren't here when we got the house on after closing day. And we kept searching for mirrors and couldn't find anything until we found these at Bungalow Classic. And when we brought them in here, the hardware was still in the wall. And so I was able to kind of put it up there, and I was like, wow, these fit perfectly. I didn't have to kind of hang anything. And then Laura found the photos from the real estate agent, and we had bought the exact same mirrors that they had in here beforehand. So I guess serendipitous, and these mirrors have to be in this room. Otherwise, we've got some art pieces from family friends in here. This piece here is from one of my mom's good friends, Sarah Cook. And these are also pieces from one of our wedding showers that was thrown by a family friend, Miss Lynn Corley in Little Rock. So she actually drew these, and we loved them so much that we framed them, and now they hang here. Through building this house, I think we've certainly brought some things from our relationship. I think you'll see a lot of kind of our university and our wedding up in Virginia. So it's been really fun to kind of go through those, design decisions and design elements to kind of bring, our relationship over the last 11 years to life through here. I think it's nice because we have very similar styles. We're from similar parts of the country, and I think in a lot of ways we think similarly. I think I may be the more kind of finance-minded, and Laura loves the design. So marrying those two, that's really been the only struggle is, what works for our budget, particularly in your first house, but also, just kind of prioritizing and doing things in the order that they need to be done.
Yeah, and I would say too that everything in our house, you'll see as we go through the home tour, is very intentional and really reflects both of our stories, whether it's items that we've picked up in our travels, or like Todd Allen said, items that are meaningful to us from school or from our time living in DC versus Atlanta, and also elements brought in from generations on both sides of the family. So we love that everything has a story behind it. And we also kind of pulled in our wedding design theme into our interior design. So you'll see a lot of hunter green and copper and magnolia flowers used in different places throughout the house. And that's kind of an homage to our wedding day, which was in Hot Springs, Virginia at the Homestead Resort, about an hour away from where we went to college. And it happened to be a really beautiful fall day where it was peak foliage. So you'll see a lot of references to fall leaves as well throughout the house.
Now we'd love to show you the last room in our house, and probably one of my favorites. Come with us to the back porch.
Welcome to our back porch area. So this screened-in porch was part of the new addition that the previous owners built on a couple of years ago. And we love it, and I think it was really what sold Todd Allen on buying this house. He could just envision watching fall football out here, and I could envision hosting all kinds of theme parties here. And so we just love it, and we use it almost as like our family room since our living room is a little bit smaller. And we love that you can kind of go from the living room into the dining room and then flow out here. So it's the perfect flow for hosting and entertaining. This table right here that I have outside is actually one piece of a super long banquet table that my grandparents, the one who was the general in the military, they used for all kinds of military dinners and entertaining. So we wanted to use it somehow, but we don't have a banquet-sized dining room, so we've used a piece of it here and paired it with some kind of mountain house looking chairs that we got at an antique store outside of Cashers, North Carolina. And again, on this table, I really love to mix and match different china patterns and finer pieces with more everyday pieces. So we have some casual placemats and a tablecloth from Lucy's Market here in Atlanta, one of my favorite little hosting and gift shops. And then I've put a finer set of plates here from my grandma Rosenthal white and gold pattern on top of the more everyday items. And then these glasses look a bit vintage, but in reality they're newer from Williams-Sonoma. So these were actually very affordable and kind of look antique, but are not.
So this little space here was actually one of the more fun projects that we've done. Hanging Laura's dad's vintage skis on the wall, kind of going for that mountain ski house type of vibe out here. We certainly get a ton of compliments and comments on them. It's really cool to show them off. It was a kind of an easy little trick with the kind of leather straps and the brass hardware. So kind of an easy thing to do. My dad and I actually did it in an afternoon. And we've hung those below our sign that we utilized from our wedding. So we're lucky enough that we've got a space to use that. It's kind of a cheeky way to do that. And I know a lot of people just kind of toss them after the wedding, but we thought we'd throw it out here. And then, kind of another seating area. Like Laura said, this area is utilized for our parties and hosting all the time. So try to cram as many seats in here as we can.
Our living room, as you know, and most of the house is a little bit Ralph Lauren inspired. So one of the design inspirations we had out here was to make this feel a bit more like Ralph Lauren's ranch or his mountain house out in Telluride, Colorado. And so Todd Allen spoke about the skis on the wall from my dad. I actually have two uncles that live out in Telluride, Colorado as well, and a lot of skiers on both sides of our family. But this space is supposed to represent just an area where we can sit and watch TV in front of our wood-burning fireplace here, and with the weather in Atlanta being warm about 9 months out of the year, we can use this space even in the winter.
Yeah, I think once you build a fire and turn on the heater behind there, you can honestly be out here other than like the 10 hottest and the 10 coldest days of the year. So it's really nice. We love to throw on a fire. Laura and I are starting a rewatch of Yellowstone at the moment, so it's been a really great place to do that. And then we actually ended up hosting our master's party out here this year. So it's been a great place to sit and watch sports, watch shows. It's a great kind of extra seating area, and this is probably where we can seat the largest group. So we spend a lot of time out here.
And some of the details in here too, like this little tray, kind of allude back to some of our favorite places. So this is another Katie Kime toile, but it's from the Marfa, Texas pattern, one of the favorite places that we've traveled together. And you'll also notice kind of more of the Western elements in this part of the house. So we have some fun pillows with cowboy boots and a buffalo from Pendleton, and we have a Ralph Lauren rug on the ground here that's a bit more kind of Southwestern inspired.
I think home to me is a place to kind of get away from the world and to be, an authentic version of yourself with the people that you love. And specifically buying our first home, it's something that we're building together as you start on a life together. We bought this house a year after we got married, so it's a big part of kind of building that, a physical manifestation of building our life together.
And home to me is really a place where you can feel cozy and safe and at peace. So for me, that's like putting on a big t-shirt at night, getting cuddled up in my blanket, and watching some reality TV without judgment. Thanks so much for coming to tour with us today, Homeworthy. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.